today I am in a weird spot because I'm in a talent room. I'm not casting. I'm wearing an Echo jacket. But you know what's not weird, which is actually amazing, is that I'm with a wonderful gentleman right here, one of my good friends in the business, and an international sensation, Gideon Q. What's up?
Hello.
Or should I say Fatal Five-Way?
Dude, that's some lost lore. I don't think anybody calls me Fatal Five-Way anymore. The most that they do is if they're looking for my Instagram handle. Wait, which camera am I supposed to be looking at? You're looking at that one. I'm looking at this one. What about this one
Yeah,
here?
that's just that's nothing. You know, this is just for intro. We have to look at each other.
Do you edit your own videos? Or do you have an editor?
I have an editor for most of my videos, but when it comes to like rush things, like for example, I've had two when I was in MPLI. It was with Marky and TOB.
Yeah.
So I did that, and yeah.
Jeez. Wait, so then who does the editing for...
For this one, will
Yeah.
be my editor. So
Your editor?
Yeah.
So that means I can just start making demands on different cameras.
Yeah.
Cut to this one, and then back to this.
Yeah.
And then we're over...
Yeah.
We're
Can't.
over here now, and then we cut back to this.
Well,
Do you ever mess with your editors?
what does that even mean?
Editor, add a graphic here. Big explosions in the background right
Yeah.
now. Things like that.
Things
you
like
know?
that. No, I haven't. Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
maybe I should start doing it.
I mean, you're paying them, right?
Yeah.
So you might as well
That's
take full
right.
advantage
That's
of the
right.
situation.
Am I paying them enough? That's up to them to decide. you know?
Yeah, but hey, hello everybody. My name is Gideon Q. You can follow me on every social media under the name Gideon Q, or if you want to find my Instagram, that's Fatal Five-Way. But you can basically find me with a tag Gideon Q. For the most part, international sensation is probably a bit of an overstatement. I think like a good majority of the world doesn't have no idea who I am. I'm just some dude.
Yeah, we just like hyping each other up. You know, they call
Exactly.
they call me one of the best. They call me the richest. It's not true at all. You know.
I mean, like that's the problem with that is that it's partially true, but at the same time, it's not like you haven't crossed the line where it's like now it's my identity.
So there's no confirmation of whatever, right? But yeah, we're just messing around. So you know why I got Gideon Q here? I don't know when you will be watching this, but currently what's happening is the M5 World Championship, and Gideon Q is have flown, I mean, to the Philippines for the second time in his life as a shoutcaster. The first one, which
Actually, as a
shoutcaster,
shoutcaster.
second,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
second time.
But-
That's correct.
but you know, you've flown here before.
Yes.
Wow, I did not know this actually.
Really? You didn't?
You might have
okay.
not told me about this. Can you
Fair
tell
enough,
me
fair enough.
what happened? What was that?
So like prior to going to international events, you know what? Let's give the timeline, right? So that people have like a sense of like how this all happened, right? So I think for a lot of people who have been following the Mobile Legends scene for like a really long time, I think most people started to get excited about Mobile Legends way after those big peak periods where MSC used to be the M series, you know?
Right.
That was the international tournament. Prior to MSC 2019, if I'm remembering that correctly,
Yes, 2019.
2019, I had visited the Philippines one other time for a
Prior to
mission
that.
trip. Yeah.
Oh.
For a mission trip. Yeah. Did I ever tell you that I was a missionary kid?
You told me your dad was a mission. Wait,
It's starting to make sense now.
no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I was a missionary kid, and I think
You're a
like-
missionary kid, but you're not a missionary.
No. There's a big difference, actually. So missionaries are the people who go over there. I'm a missionary kid, so I'm the son of a missionary.
Oh, okay. Now
So-
okay, fine.
I mean, it's not like I had much of a choice. I was like a baby
Yeah.
when my dad decided to, kind of migrate over to do mission work. So
Yep.
that's one thing. So very heavily Christian
Christian.
family household sort of situation, right? And I think for the most part, the mission trip, it was part of the organization that also sent my dad over in the first place. So we had connections, right?
Okay.
It's all over Southeast Asia, throughout the course of the world, over the course of the world. They're called the Navigators, unironically, yeah. And
Yeah.
I came to the Philippines with two other boys, and we kind of like, it was supposed to be not really a mission trip, but like kind of exposure to see the rest of the world, which is very funny because when I grew up in a sense where I grew up in Bangladesh initially, not in Malaysia.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
super long story, right?
Okay.
If you're talking about backstories, I've got the most amount of lore that nobody cares about, but it's interesting.
All right.
So kind of interesting.
It is
you know,
interesting, you know.
it depends on
Yeah.
like, because most people they hear missionaries are like, oh, you're Christian and weird.
Is that what they say? I mean, I haven't been a missionary kid, you know, but
No, but it's like homeschool kids, for an example. You know,
Okay.
they're kind of like, you're ostracized because you're different and weird.
Oh, right,
And
all
I
right,
sound
I
like
see.
this, so it didn't.
yeah,
really help
that's
much.
why I care about your lore, because I think that it plays a big part on your casting as well as like how you speak, literally. So you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so Bangladesh and then
Back to the timeline,
Yeah.
all right? So my parents flew over to Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
And I was at like what, almost less than a year old, I think, at that point in time. Like I was fresh off the boat, you know.
Yeah.
I was fresh.
Yeah,
And
course.
after I was born, my parents made a really like big decision to do mission work, because
Yeah.
my dad is very much a very devout
Okay,
Christian,
okay.
right? So we fly over to Bangladesh. I stay there for 7 years. 7 years, and I was in an international school with a bunch of other missionary kids.
Right.
So there's a school, funny enough, there's a school that is considered an international school that charges the
Ooh.
locals international rates, but it's also quote unquote a Christian school. So missionary
Right.
kids get a significant discount.
oh,
Yeah.
that's why.
That's why
Wow.
so it's a mission school. It was called Grace International. So
That sounds
that's-
like a Christian school.
it's very Christian.
All
Like,
right.
I don't know how they got away with some of these things, or how some of the parents were okay, because we would be like, oh yeah, you know, some of the locals would be around hanging out with
Yeah.
us and stuff like that, and they were also going through the same curriculum of IGCSE. And then it'll be like, okay, let's do a little bit of math, a little bit of science, praise and worship, a little bit of math, a little bit of science. So
Yeah,
that was
okay.
that was the odd part. But I think that's where I got like a lot of my accent.
Yeah, because I would assume like you've been around English speakers for the longest time. Well, I guess you know maybe one thing that we missed for some of the people out there who might be watching right now, you might not know, but Gideon is from Malaysia. Right? He's one of the Malaysian reps of the casting crew here for M5. Always has been. And funny enough, he is one of the OGs as well. You're also an all-timer, an M series all-timer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there
We'll
later.
get to that point.
We'll
that's
get to
the,
that point.
That's the juicy stuff.
All right. So you grew up around like English speakers, I would assume. So that's how you got your accent. And then when you
Oh,
come
yeah.
back to, when did you go back to Malaysia?
I think if our curriculums are the same in Southeast Asia, it would be like year six. Year six
of
like just
school.
before middle school, or depending like high school
Yeah.
for most people, right? So I was in Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
7 years that, so my entire childhood
Yeah.
is in Bangladesh, like basically my whole life. That's all
Yeah.
I knew, right? And then we go back to sometimes we have trips back to Malaysia sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And so in my head, what my general life plan was going to look like was pretty similar to my two elder brothers. So unfortunately, during the time in Bangladesh, there was a limited number of years years as in like education wise,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. But then once you go 6, 7, 8, 9, so on and so forth until like about 12, where that's where you're doing like O levels, A levels, that sort of situation, which is
Yeah.
12, 11, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So
It's pretty much high school or pre-college?
yeah, high school, pre-college.
Yeah.
Like A levels is pre-college.
Okay,
already.
okay. I got it.
And then, so at the time, my eldest brother who was there, they didn't have year 6 onwards. So he had to go to a boarding school in India, which was like grade school, but had
Ooh.
all but had
It's a boarding
everything.
school, yeah.
Yeah, it's a boarding school, right? And they follow, and you have to stay there. It's in the mountains of
yes.
India, right?
Yeah.
It's in the mountains of India, on top of the fact that it was doing the exact same thing as grade school, whereby they charge the locals
Okay.
international rates and missionaries less.
All right, okay.
So it's all Christianity is all interconnected, and somehow we just got lucky to a certain degree,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Or quote unquote blessed.
Blessed,
Yeah.
as most people like to call it.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to believe that I'm very blessed in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. So my eldest brother had to go to boarding school. My second brother eventually at year 7, because they're like 1.5 years apart.
Okay.
So by the time he got to year 6, My second brother got to year 6. They already had a year 7. Okay, so you stick around for one more year, and then there's no year 8. So you had to go over the boarding school. So I thought I had the biggest gap between my eldest and my second brother, right? I think it's about a 5-6 year gap, right? So by the time it was my turn, I was thinking in my head, okay, my 2 elder brothers, they went to boarding school. I get the house all to myself. I'm awesome. I'm a privileged little punk kid.
Christian kid.
Punk ass bitch Christian kid, because I'm dope like that. You know, I'm throwing up gang signs and stuff in Bangladesh. No.
And then there's like you don't have rosaries, right? You don't have a rosary.
What's a rosary?
You don't even know what okay.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think I know.
Okay.
Is it the
it looks like a necklace and then there's a cross.
Yeah. The necklace and the cross.
Oh
yeah.
because that's Catholic. What am I saying? Yeah,
Exactly.
That's all. You have at least a Bible and then you do gang signs. Right? It's like, oh my goodness.
Dude, that'd be so funny.
Yeah, so funny. But you didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm a Protestant.
Yeah.
You know, compared to the Catholics, and then we have our own gang signs and such. But it's Crips and Bloods all over again. But yeah. So in my head, I'm thinking like, eventually I'm gonna come to a point where I'm gonna go to the boarding school in India. Right?
You accepted that fact already.
Yeah, this is my fate.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to go in my life. And it looked like my brothers were having the time of their life. And I had like almost like me and my brothers used to be, well, I would I say close? It was a love-hate relationship, as all siblings are going to be, right?
For sure. Especially you're all brothers, right? We're all
dudes.
We're all dudes.
We're all dudes.
Typically, it's a love-hate relationship, right?
But the thing is my second and eldest brother were obviously a lot closer because they're 1.5 years apart compared to like the 5 years. Let's just round it to 5, right? We'll round it down to 5 years.
Yeah, that's almost a generation, and the things will be different. Like whatever they're doing will be totally different from you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it was like very obvious. I was getting bullied out of my mind. You know, I got bullied out of my mind. They were playing Diablo while I was thinking about Pokemon. You know, and stuff like that. You know, the good old days.
Yeah.
And eventually, it came to a point where my eldest brother, because of the year gap, right? I didn't really like put 2 and 2 together. So because of the year gap, my brother need tertiary education, which is like, you know, college, like he'd done his O-levels, now he's looking to go into a degree, you know, things like that. And that's where the problems started to occur. And my dad is like, you know what? I got to do it for my boys. I got to do it. He doesn't sound like that. but I would like to imagine that in his head, he's like, I got to do it for my kids, my boys, my brethren. We're going back to Malaysia. We're going back to home soil.
Everybody. You know? This included everybody.
Yes.
Wow.
Everybody. So
man.
The only exception was my second brother, only because he was in the middle of A levels, right?
Okay.
So he's like, you're in the middle of it. It's like you might as well just stay the last year.
And it's a boarding school, anyways.
Exactly, right? But it doesn't mean that it doesn't cost money, right? You still, because keep in mind, even though we have a discount, you still have to pay your own travel fees to get there.
Right.
And let me tell you, it takes a long ass time just to get there. Yeah. So you take a flight to India, right? Oh, this goes into another thing, right? Okay. So this goes into another thing, right? This is part of my life experience of whereby I struggle as a missionary kid. The one thing that I know for a fact that every missionary kid always feels is that there's no place that you can truly call your home.
Yeah, I would assume, because you're like in between places. Right?
Yeah, you're stuck in between many different worlds, honestly, right? Like Bangladesh at its time was so very different to how it is now, and in comparison to Malaysia at the time, right? You know, I was very used to growing up around beggars, seeing rickshaws go.
This is in Bangladesh.
Yeah, this is in Bangladesh. You know, rickshaws going back and forth to see, you know, the big divide between the upper class and as well as the lower class.
Because that's a thing in India, in Bangladesh. Yeah,
no, it was a very big deal. Now Bangladesh is a lot more developed, and obviously they're trying to like close that gap, but that's a geopolitical thing that I don't want to get into. So anyways, to get to the boarding school, you would have to take a flight to India. Then you would have to take a train. And you have to take like 2 different trains to get to the base of the mountain, which you must take a bus to go up the mountain.
Goodness.
And once you get up to the mountain, you get to the town there. And then you have to take a taxi. A taxi or do they have rickshaws there? I don't know what they call it, but basically a small little transport to get us to the school itself.
Wait, pause. Rickshaw, Ricksha. Is that
Don't quote me on it. I think it's correct.
No,
I'm bad at spelling.
I'm asking this because there's an Indian shop from where I used to live, which is called Rickshaw. It serves Indian food. But what
Okay.
is it? I thought it was a place actually.
So that could be mildly racist because rickshaws are quite. Would I say exclusive? Exclusive to a certain extent to India and Bangladesh.
Okay.
So either it means like it's a modified bicycle. It's a modified bicycle whereby it's kind of like trikes.
All
here.
right. Yeah, you know, you've seen
here.
them. You've seen
yeah,
some.
I've seen trikes.
Yeah.
I've seen trikes, but instead of like it's on the side,
It's
in the
behind.
back.
All right, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the back.
So it's like a
And,
pickup truck, but with a bike, with a trike.
It's like no, it's a modified bicycle with more back space.
okay, all right, yeah.
yeah, that's the best way that I
Okay,
can put it.
got
so
it.
either we're mildly racist and we're butchering this dude's
Yeah.
name, or he's talking about the vehicle, which kind of doesn't make sense, but at the same time, am I really going to question
Yeah,
it? Not
it's,
really.
I think there's a W in the rickshaw or rickshaw.
Rickshaw,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that.
yeah,
But do try that place. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Sorry.
Shout out, quick sponsor. Now to our sponsored ad.
All right. So you've been traveling a lot as a kid, which is like it's horrifying, and also like I've seen this in the movies, but I cannot relate. But the thing is, you don't really necessarily get your group of friends. And back then, we didn't have like Facebook or something, because now
You're
at least kids, they have Facebook. For our time, I would imagine that it's hard to kind of establish yourself with a group of friends.
Yeah, no, it was. Well, the thing is, when I was much younger, I was very much a social butterfly, and I think
I see.
to a certain degree, my parents always felt that was like such a good thing. Like I would go on these trains that would take maybe a day or two to get to our destination, right?
Yeah.
And I'm making friends on the trains.
Wow.
I don't even speak their language sometimes. I have like zero clue who they are, and we would just make friends,
Yeah.
things like
Okay.
that. And I was like making friends, and because of the timeline in my head of like I'm gonna eventually end up at this boarding school.
Oh, right.
Sometimes the siblings of the families who have one of their children at that boarding school would also be on that train to go to the same destination.
I see.
So that was like my little click for those small little moments.
Right,
Obviously, I had like friends back in Bangladesh,
Yeah.
of course. But once we made that move, is just wiped. Clean.
Yeah, that's right.
Completely wiped clean.
So this is in when you're in Malaysia. How old were you then? You do you remember?
I was supposed to be year 6. So how old are people who are year 6? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I think I was like 11.
Yeah, 11. All right.
11 around
Yeah.
there. Now, because of that, in Malaysia specifically, we have this like I think it's stupid, but year 6 there was this exam called UPSR. It's
Okay.
this dumb shit exam where it's like
Alright.
a major exam for no reason for kids. Like what was the point of it?
Yeah.
What was the point? Because it doesn't affect anything. It
Right.
was a pointless exam that meant nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And people were like, oh, it affects the way you go into high school. You don't get to go to the best high school if you don't do this, mate. If you don't
But
get
it
A's in
doesn't?
it doesn't.
Okay.
Because the way they choose, the way the government chooses where your high school is going to be is by where you live.
Yeah.
Like regular people.
Yeah, like normal people around the world.
Exactly.
The practical choice.
Yeah, so that's why it was such a useless goddamn exam.
All right.
So because of that dumb exam, I got pulled back 1 year.
Oh my goodness.
By my parents. It was an active choice by my parents. It's not because of the government or
Yeah.
Malaysia at all. Because my BM sucks. I only knew English.
Yeah.
I knew very minimal French because of it was international
Yeah.
school. And then I went to Bangladesh. Zero BM.
Yeah.
Came out of Bangladesh, basically
Yeah.
zero BM. I remember getting my ass beat by my dad because he would give me like a book to like memorize words in Bahasa
Bahasa Melayu.
Melayu.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I would get my ass beat when I like missed
Yeah.
out on something and things like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't help much because by the time I still got into Malaysia, I didn't know what anybody was saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I grew up, pull back a year, in year 5, I'm clearly bigger than every other kid, sounding like the whitest kid in that class, and I didn't know anything my teacher was saying.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
math, no problem. I've done this for like 2 years technically
right.
at this point. English, piece of cake. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Half the time I'm closing my eyes, I'm getting
Yeah.
these exams done. BM, what's going on? I would get severe anxiety.
What was it? Do you remember any word that gave you a lot of problems before? There should
lot
be
of
so many,
words.
right?
I mean, every single part of the language, you know? Oh, I don't know if Filipinos ever had this problem, right? Is there ever, I feel like it's a lot easier in Filipino to differentiate Tagalog words and names.
Oh. Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. You can
It's
say
like
that.
some of them are like pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like this guy's name is Romeo.
Yeah, all right,
You
all
know,
right.
and then the rest of the Tagalog was, oh, that's fine. I couldn't tell the difference. My dad would my mom and dad would get really upset because I'm like, what's Ahmad in BM? And then they're looking at me. And I'm looking at them like, this is a genuine question.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you fucking stupid? It's a name. And I'm like, okay, I memorize it. Ahmad means it's a name. Very literal.
Yeah. Oh!
Yeah. So when I go to the next name, right, I go up to them and I'm like, who is Mahmoud? What does Mahmoud mean? And it's like, that's also a name. But then it's like, wait a minute, but Ahmad means what? Ahmad is a name. And I couldn't put two and two together. I couldn't understand the fact that these were legitimate Bahasa Melayu names.
That's so funny, dude.
I remember
hilarious.
My dad was so mad at
Yeah.
me. He was so angry. He was like, I'm so done with this shit. And my mom was trying to explain it to me because she's an English teacher,
Yeah.
right? And she was trying to be really nice about it, and I still couldn't put two
Yeah.
together.
Wait, just to be clear, they're Malaysians, right?
Yes,
Okay,
they're
okay.
also
Okay,
Malaysians.
okay.
We are of Chinese descent.
Okay.
And specifically in Malaysia, we have three major races,
Yeah.
which is the Malays.
Yeah.
It sounds racist, but it's not. It
Yeah.
really is not. Chinese and as well as Indians.
All
And
right.
all of us have our own individual culture,
Yeah.
individual cultures, and we kind of maintain it, right? We kind of
Yeah.
maintain that sort of that cultural
Yeah.
background even in
Yeah.
Malaysia.
You can say that in the Philippines too, because there's a lot of like Chinese and then
Yeah.
Chinois, right? Yeah, which
Yeah, Chinois.
Yeah.
That's the best way of
Yeah.
saying it. I love that so much.
Yeah,
I love that.
sounds so
name.
good. All right. Anyways,
Yeah. So
your mom, an English teacher.
Yeah, my mom's an English teacher, and my dad was teaching computer science.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were doing missionary work, that's what they would do. They applied to the university, say, "Hey, I can teach I can teach language, I can teach comm science," and that's how they kind of got into do their mission
Mm-hmm.
work. So throughout the day, I would go to before I even went into school, I would go to their quote unquote university there and just fuck around. Honestly, I was
Yeah.
playing carom and shit, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once I came back to Malaysia, I was really struggling.
Yeah.
I was really struggling. with everything.
Did you get bullied at a certain point? Like
Oh no, because I got pulled back.
Oh,
a year.
yeah, because you're older.
I am the big kid.
Yeah, you're
I
right,
am
right,
the
right.
kid that people doesn't want to mess with because I'm clearly a foot taller
Yeah.
than you, and I'm like I speak white. I'm a beat your ass. You know?
Yeah, that's right. So now so this is why it's important to talk about the origins basically of this guy, because he grew up internationally. Because here's the thing, right? When I talk to Malaysians, like actual Malaysians and Indonesians, they're not as good with English as compared to the Filipinos. Because for us, at least, we have an
It's
English language. It's integrated.
yeah.
Every sign you see, I don't know if you noticed this, but every sign you see is in English.
Is in English,
right? So
yes.
it's very rarely you see Tagalog. So everybody just understands it. Sometimes people are just shy about like speaking in English, but generally they will understand you. And given enough effort, they will be able to communicate with you. So at
Exactly.
least there's that.
Yeah.
But in Malaysia, when I went there first, like when I was trying to speak in English for everyone, it was difficult, right? That was the very privileged part of me when I went in here in Malaysia for the first time. Like,
That's the privileged part. The fact that I was
Yeah.
like, I speak English.
Yeah, you know.
Check out my privilege.
That's the thing. But it's a wake up call for me. Like, hey, you privileged boy, you're lucky you're born in. Well, you're lucky you got invaded by
By every other country and lost.
Yeah.
We have not won a single war. Actual historical fact about Malaysia: everybody who conquered us basically won.
Yeah.
We have not. We have fought back, but we never win.
Yeah, I think is that the same with I don't know. I don't want to sound like an expert, but anyways, yeah. When I went to Malaysia, not everybody speak good English, and I was actually culture shocked when because I was there in M1.
Yeah.
I was actually shocked to hear that it will be BM that will be played in the stadium
On the big screen.
On the big screen,
yeah.
like for example, in the Philippines. International events back then Dota 2 was the big one. They would broadcast the English broadcast in the stadium because everybody understood it anyways.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But apparently in everywhere else in the world, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, it had to be local language, which is
Yeah.
interesting because then I realized maybe if we did this, maybe we could have evoked more I guess, nation pride. Because colonial mentality is a thing in the Philippines, right? Colonial mentality, yeah, that's a thing.
What the fuck is colonial mentality?
Colonial mentality, basically.
Is it like Stockholm syndrome, but like worse?
Yeah, it's Stockholm syndrome, but you're colonizers, basically. Yeah, it's like we always look down
The
on
British
ourselves.
were right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah,
That sort of
exactly.
thing?
It's like, no, it's not like they are being right. It's like, no, they are advanced. They're probably better than us. Something like that. Something like that kind of mentality where a white guy comes in, oh, he's probably better than us. He's probably richer. He's probably,
I get
yeah,
it.
that's
I
why
get it.
everybody was very happy that there were celebrities like, casters or, for lack of a better term, white guys in the building.
OD Pixel comes on and everyone's like,
yeah, but we do love them, right? But you would love them just stay on the sideline. I would like to focus on my local language, perhaps, That's a topic that's a different topic,
We could talk for hours on that topic
exactly.
alone. But yeah, no, I think that like at the end of the day, when it comes down to like in terms of the different cultures in Southeast Asia specifically, there's a lot of things that obviously is going to be culture shock, but there's a lot of like similarities and things that make us different. For an example, if you're culture shocked with the fact that like, oh, most people don't speak English, they kind of speak English in Malaysia. I'm shocked with the fact that your traffic sucks.
Yeah.
Like I thought Malaysian traffic, like sometimes it already annoys me if I'm stuck in traffic for 45 minutes, but you guys deal with that on like a daily basis. And I want to blow my brains out every single time I think about going to MPL on a weekly basis to go through that. Oh, hell no.
I know, right?
That's why you guys have built diff. Honestly, really, dude, I would have my casting career would have been short if I lived in the Philippines. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. It is painful.
It's painful. Like, this is what it is. We have to get by. I mean, at least for me, like I said, because of the traffic, I've found love in podcasting because I've been listening to different podcasts.
No, I think it's great. I think it's great that I always felt like, I feel like it's an age thing.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like because we're from the same generation that we can kind of relate on this, that we're getting older and like being able to talk about things in this particular manner rather than, TikTok where it's just like, half a second, this second, and then go back to this one. And then it's just like dopamine.
You want to settle down a bit,
I do want to get into the details of certain topics, right?
That's
especially if I am genuinely interested in something, right? We go into that rabbit hole sort of thing.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that to get back into the story, the timeline of things, right? I come back to Malaysia. I'm struggling out of my mind. I'm in a private school for 2 years. I get the major exam done. I do okay in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly do okay considering everything it's supposed to. And that particular year, right? It was supposed to be the hardest the exam has ever been. And I did all right. I got like a B in BM and a C in like the writing section of it, which is honestly not bad considering that some people in my class actually failed, which was crazy because I'm the white guy. Well, quote unquote the white guy, Because I came back to Malaysia and apparently my mom told me that I had just the thickest accent, and there's no way to pinpoint what the accent was.
Okay.
Because I had many different teachers in Bangladesh.
Right.
One of them was from New Zealand.
Right.
Another one was from Australia. Then I had British teachers on top of American teachers.
That's right. So
And then I have French teachers. So it all melded into this neutral, non-existent accent. That people were like, this is white. And that's the only way you can kind of... Yeah, because how else would you define what my accent is, right?
Yeah.
And, obviously there was a heavy British influence. I was coming back like, oh, hello, everybody. Sort of like, yeah. Like
that doesn't sound British at all to me, but I mean, you experience being taught by a British. You probably know better than I do.
No. I can't say like I know how to recreate that accent all over again because it's been like a really long time.
Yeah.
But that's how it kind of like matured. The stew started,
That's right.
We get into the stew of things. Now, I'm gonna time skip ahead a little bit.
Okay.
And now it is the shoutcasting portion, which I think everybody's why you're having this podcast in the first place.
Right.
How did I get into shoutcasting? Is that in your note? Do you have notes in front of you on
do.
this laptop?
I do, but they're very honestly, I don't have for this one particular because the way that I see it is, I know that this will be a conversation. We're both shoutcasters. Come on.
Oh yeah. Now I'm curious about like your other guests, what the notes are looking like how detailed they are.
No, I'm telling you, like every time that I get a caster, there are no notes. There are no like Not even. I told you, like, we're just going to be talking about shoutcasting.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. You just gave me one line, and I was like, yes.
There's a new proverb now. Shoutcasters would rather go on a podcast than therapy.
Oh, 100%, dude. Honestly, if I could get a consistent podcast like you, I would 100% do it. But all this production work that you see before you, this is a lot of shit to bring around that I'm not willing to do just yet. I'll do this like over Discord.
Yeah, we can still do this on Discord. I'm just doing it here because come on, you're in the Philippines. Let's do everything right, you know.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And no, honestly, as much as I would love to be lazy and do it over Discord and stuff, I think there's the emotional connection.
Yeah, we're always like ever since the pandemic, we value face-to-face interactions more.
Yeah,
I guess.
No, I can agree with that. I like having conversations,
Yeah.
especially when I don't want to pay for therapy. That's the way to do it.
Where we get shoutcasting career.
Shoutcasting. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So, let me think if there was anything in the NDA that I signed that I shouldn't be bringing up. I don't think so, and I think it should be fine here. So, what happened was this. At a very young age, right? I think let's start from where I got inspired with esports.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah, I think everybody has a different story of what.
I'll share mine. I'll share mine too.
Yeah, what gives that initial spark?
Yeah.
And I think for me, funny enough, it was on. Was it? I can't remember the channel name, but I think it was Animax in Bangladesh because there was a section.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a section in Animax in Bangladesh that was talking about video games. And I was so into that shit because remember, we didn't have much of the internet at that time. So you wouldn't know how to know the cheat codes to unlock secret characters in games. You would have to go to a magazine.
Yeah. Do you have in the Philippines we have this K-Zone thing?
K-Zone?
It's like kids zone. Well, it might be very local, but basically that's it. Like upcoming games, cheat codes,
we had something
upcoming
like
anime.
That. Yes. We had something very similar.
Okay.
It's not like I could buy it because I was like, my family was a missionary family, so we were very frugal. But like thanks to Animax, I was able to kind of like see a couple of these things, right? Yeah. And one of them happened to be they were talking about like cheat codes and they were talking about games and stuff. That's how I discovered things like Quake.
Right.
Quake redone. The first-person shooter Doom, for an example. And video games was very much part of my life because of my two other brothers.
Yeah.
My eldest especially, he was very much a gamer. Second brother, more athletic, of course. But all of us were athletic when you're kids.
Okay.
And every kid was athletic, so I can't say much about that. Anyways, one fine particular day, right? There was a moment where I was back in Malaysia and I was still watching Animax, of course, naturally, because I like anime and I also like video games, and they also happen to have that same segment in Malaysia, right? What they brought up was there was a moment where they brought up a clip. Was it a clip? I wouldn't consider it a clip, but basically they were showing like what esports like. Competitive.
Really? What year was
like
this?
clips. I think this was in the year of 2006, 2005, around there. So it was pretty early on. So these clips are like.
So it should be StarCraft. It should be StarCraft or FGC.
Okay. Thinking about it is like
goosebumps.
Yeah, it's good, dude. I remember the exact moment. Now, for a little bit more context, I had international friends in Bangladesh as a kid. One of them was Korean.
Okay.
Of course. I have a Korean friend, right? And we were playing like, obviously, kids always go to initially when you start off as a gamer, and especially when you don't have the money to start paying for the bigger games, you start playing like the smaller mini games.
Yeah.
Mini Clip, for an example, those
Clip.
the web games,
exactly,
and you build up from there.
Exactly.
You start learning about all the other different websites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then my friend, this Korean friend, I was sleeping over at his place, and he was like, "Hey, check out this new game. It's called StarCraft."
Ooh.
And that
goosebumps, man. Goosebumps.
Yeah, and I also had a friend from the Netherlands, and he introduced me to the RTS genre as a whole.
Okay.
So this was Age of Empires like 1 and 2, things like
right.
that, right? And I was very much into these like historical moments. I was reading like horrible history to kind of learn about these types of wars, right? I don't know. As a kid, I was very much into wars. You know when you're a kid and when you're bored, you're drawing on a piece of paper, stickman's having war, and then eventually it like develops the full pages.
Exactly.
Yeah. So RTS games was kind of a way to imagine it on the screen, right?
The same for me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was this beautiful moment of learning StarCraft and stuff like. Obviously, we were shit, but like there was this moment in Malaysia when I was watching this. They started off in Korea, the StarCraft League, right?
Yeah. They started pretty early. Actually.
They started very, very early. And I think it was pretty deep into it because pretty developer with all of the strats that they had, right? And I was watching it on Animax, and there was this one clip. At the time, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. Was it Flash?
Flash is like one of the famous ones back
He was
then.
one of the famous, but this is like the all-time great. He held the title, if I remember correctly, for 6 years straight.
That should be Flash, but yeah, go on.
Is it Flash? Yeah. We could search that up. I can't remember his exact name, right? And he was making these insane plays. And I remember watching one of his games, like one of the highlight moments of his games. He was playing Protoss versus Zerg, and it was like
what was he? What race?
He was a Protoss. Oh, obviously he was a Protoss player.
Right.
He was a Protoss player, and then there was another guy who was playing Terran, right? But the build-up started from the Zerg. I saw that one clip, and then I was like, I was waiting for the next week to see it again. But there was a different clip. It was against Terran players, and I'm like, fucking shit-ass, stupid-ass Terran players, fucking medic dropping into the back of my fucking base, pieces of shit. Yeah, and this clip,
it's either Jaedong, Flash, or Bisu.
Bisu is the Zerg player, right?
Is the Zerg.
Is Bisu the Zerg player or the
Protoss?
Protoss player as well? I remember Bisu. I remember specifically
So it's not
Bisu.
him.
I think it was Flash versus Bisu in one of the clips later on, which I'll get to, right?
Yeah. All right.
So this is my introduction to esport, quote unquote esports, right? Esports shoutcasting, and then the match happens, right? Flash versus Bisu, this Protoss versus Protoss player, and this was like a grand final. I don't know if it was grand finals actually, and I'm hearing the shoutcasters fucking wailing, just going off, and I remember being stuck to my screen, seeing that shit go down, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I want to be in that position.
Wow.
And I wanted to be like, the thing is, I'm a kid, so I don't know whether I wanted to be the player or the shoutcaster. I just want to be part of it. You know, that moment, I felt my heart beating, and it was just like this beautiful moment of like when the GG was said, and then the confetti, and then the shoutcaster, the crowd was just going wild for that moment. I was like, oh my god, I need to be part of this. That was when the spark happened. Yeah, that was when I was like, this is it.
This is funny because, and this is great because I think I'm one of those also, because when you talk to shoutcasters here in the Philippines, some of them are just like a happenstance shoutcasters that they found this thing, they like it. They tumbled upon it. Yeah. Some of them were like the pandemic shoutcasters, because the pandemic happened, they saw this could be one of the good ones. Some of them were just naturally gamers, but I would say a very low minority of them will say that I dreamt to be a shoutcaster. I actually can say that I dreamt to be a shoutcaster.
You dreamt of it?
No, 2003. Like how you felt.
Yeah.
So I was gamer. Obviously came to Dota. There was a time in my life though that I had to focus with studies because I went to engineering school and I had to just let go of the things naturally. And I think I had maybe 5 years or because I was finishing high school in the Philippines, getting to college. So I had to drop all of those games, like online games. Dota, I had to drop it. It's a Maple Story.
RuneScape.
I had to drop all those. Ragnarok,
no.
I'm so big into those RPGs. But anyway, I had to drop them. But when I got sick, when I found out that I had lupus and I cannot go to
cyber cafes.
No, I cannot get out of my house. I'm just because it's very painful. I remember. My friend was still studying. I had to stop studying. He gave me a beta key for Dota 2. A beta key for Dota 2. So I'm one of those.
You caught a beta key?
Because he was like, man, it's too bad for you. You're sick, Do you have your laptop? At least we have a very wonky laptop, but it can run Dota 2 because Dota 2 is not that demanding. So he gave me the beta key, and it was 2013. Well, we played around like early 2012. Yeah. And then I didn't care about like the international. I didn't even know that there was like a tournament.
Like esports was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that esports was a thing. Then comes free to play. I don't know if you're familiar with that documentary. That featured Dendy, Fear.
Yes.
So, and while that was happening, so it literally the same day I found about Fear. I found about free to play NTI3, the international 3. So it was one of the best tournaments, right? So I watched that. The same day I found out about this and immediately got hooked. The thing is,
that's actually kind of funny because wasn't that the same year Dendy figured out how to do the fountain hook,
exactly.
Right?
It was a very nice tournament. Like if back then, if you got into Dota 2, it was very rich when it comes to like storyline. So the thing is, internet in the Philippines back in 2013 is not as good as it is right now.
Yeah.
So internet is quite slow. And then, since they're happening in the opposite side of the world, if you want to watch it live, you have to stay up late.
Yeah.
Stay up late, which my parents did not, appreciate. Obviously, because they want me to. You're recovering from a sickness. Why are you not sleeping properly?
Yeah, why are you waking up at 4 in the morning?
So I get imagine like an 18-year-old or 17-year-old trying to hide from his parents.
You're like under the blanket with the laptop and you're like, ah.
But yeah, kidding aside, I had to. That's the thing, right? I was able to watch all these videos even when our internet is bad because it's nighttime anyways. And typically, because that happened, right? When it's like nighttime.
When you share the line with people in the morning, you're like, why is it so goddamn slow? You have to wait until nobody's around.
Nobody's around. Like even in your neighborhood, it's like that. Anyway, it's a funny nugget about it.
Fun fact. Yeah. Did you have to dial it in?
No, that was way before. The thing is, in our house at least, we didn't have that. We have to go to a LAN cafe that serves only literally one PC can access the internet. That existed in the Philippines. Like there's this one PC, it costs 5 pesos more than per hour.
It's like a little more expensive
because it's dial-up, whatever. Then all the others will just be connected to LAN. It was funny. Anyways, TI3. That was when because I'm a fan of sports back then, and we were watching a lot of basketball. Yeah, it's pretty big in the Philippines, and a big
stereotypical, but true.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of NBA, and there are play-by-play. Well, they call it play-by-play. Play-by-caller. They call it play-by-play caller. Commentators. Right. So, and they're usually smart. Well, at least from my level of understanding, they're usually smart.
They sound smart.
And then
they sound really smart.
They have their shows afterwards, and I like to tune in on that because there's analysis. So I'm kind of well versed into this analysis part of sports where it's not just the playing. Right? There are storylines, there are like stats, whatever. So now, imagine playing with your friends online, and then there's this tournament. Now Merlini. The guy, this was a big time analyst in the world of Dota 2 back then. He guessed all of the picks, or almost all of
he called the entire draft.
Almost the entire draft. Even like the weird ones where Invoker was picked up when it was not being picked up. Something like that. Somewhere along those lines, right?
He was like giving multiple options, right?
Like literally. So he's not literally guessing everything, but I'm talking about. But especially the last pick though, the Invoker.
Yeah.
He kind of predicted it maybe a pick before that, and then it gets picked up. Everybody in the panel just goes wild.
They lose their shit.
And I was like,
editor, find that clip.
I want to be
You want to be that guy.
I want to be a shoutcaster. I didn't even know that it's called shoutcasting.
Right? I don't think anybody... I think the most that we could have called it was a commentator at the time. Because, sports, of course.
And it's like I'm watching it in the sidelines anyways. I'm like, it's not like I was tuned in all the time and it says shoutcast. It's not even like they're not even addressing each other. So, hey, this is shoutcaster. It's not like that, right? So like, cool, shoutcaster, how are you doing? It's not like that. So I thought I were just analyst, and I told myself, okay, this is rich. Now I think that a few months after that, if you are familiar with Red Eye, he released a book on shoutcasting, and I read that. It's online. It's a PDF. It's not quote unquote a book, but it's almost a book.
It's a good read. It's a good read.
All right.
Link. I'm really maxing out your editor. Imagine if this becomes the most popular episode, but your editor's just like, fucking piece of shit. Keep making me do goddamn work. I gotta fix your audio on top of adding all these graphics.
Yeah. Don't worry, man. If that happens, you'll get share of the monetization. monetization.
Monetization. Yeah.
I don't have it yet, but who
Hey,
knows?
watch hours.
Watch out.
That's why
Let's go,
podcasts
let's
are
go.
very effective.
Yeah,
in
that's
that
why
sense.
we are taking our time here. We're
Yeah,
dialing in.
milking it. Oh my God, it's been 45 minutes since we're talking.
Yes.
Dude, we're so old.
Yeah, we're so old. Anyways,
so
that's why we need therapy, but we refuse to.
No, this is the best. This is the best.
best.
I genuinely enjoy like having like just I wouldn't say. Well, actually, would I call it intimate conversations with Wolf?
All right.
And at the end of this, we might kiss.
Yeah.
Watch till the end.
Watch
to
till
find
the end
out.
to find out. Yeah. Yeah. But okay. Where was I? Anyways, I told
yes.
myself that I want to be a shoutcaster. And then this guy released a book. I slowly returned into college, right, just getting a few units because I cannot because of my sickness, I need to like focus on recovery, right? So I'm getting only a few. And then while that is happening, I've always, ever since I was young, I was always part of the school publication, right?
The
School publication, it's like a newspaper, school newspaper.
You had a school newspaper?
Always, every single school in the Philippines, right?
What?
Every single school.
I'm looking around the room. How many people had a school publication? That's one.
It's not a thing in Malaysia.
Chantel. Was there a school publication at your school?
Newspaper.
Like a newspaper? Yeah.
Oh, it's not.
It's not a Filipino thing. Okay, you guys are just privileged. You're also privileged, Butters.
Public schools have it. You're from UP, right? It's impossible. You have the biggest newspaper you have campus newspaper. No, not the course. Yeah, but yeah. All right.
Okay. But to be
It's a big
fair,
thing.
that's UP.
That's-
So like
yeah.
that's a different level from a regular ass
yeah.
school having a public. It's not a normal thing. I swear to God,
Yeah.
as I ruin relationships here in the room.
Here's the thing. Okay, at least I'm pretty sure that every public school in the Philippines have it. All right, so you have that. So I'm a writer ever since, and I read that book. I was writing for my publication because that gave me scholarship. Actually, I was the editor-in-chief in my college. Yeah.
You're such a nerd.
Yeah, I am. I actually am.
Oh my
and
God.
Imagine this.
Uh-huh.
My breed is rare in my school because I'm in an engineering school. So
What the fuck?
in an engineering school in the Philippines, if you're good at English, if you're good at writing, you're a unicorn. That's actually very true, right? So I was a
That's so
unicorn,
funny.
right? Anyways, so I was there, and there came a point where I found out that Mineski, and then back then GG Network, so I'm fast forwarding a time skip. Basically, they are offering quote unquote volunteer work, where you get invited to big esports events in the Philippines, but you have to cover it. Basically, so it's like a volunteer writer, but you get media pass,
But you get media passes.
which. For me, like
The boy.
that is for ESL One Manila, which is a Dota 2 tournament. The Philippines, was the first one. It was one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Tickets are expensive for someone who like me,
But media
but media pass to get access to the players.
Oh,
Yeah, all right.
This guy.
Yeah, so that's a thing. Eventually, while that is happening, right? So it's like 2013 was the time where I said I want to be a shoutcaster.
Yeah.
My first stint as a shoutcaster was in 2016, and it's funny because I don't know if if you've ever done this, but you know what.
Why is
You know what?
Butters laughing on the
It's a
side?
very funny story. All right. So, like, imagine 2013 to 2016. In between those years, I would practice shoutcasting and analyzing and predicting draft. Like whether I'm watching a video or when I'm taking a bath. Right? You're like.
You're just calling.
You're just calling the
yeah.
shots. You know that when this happens, oh, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
this
yeah,
happens, oh, this is my argument. You're like, you have fake simulations in your head.
Yeah.
There was one time when I love this guy because he supported me all throughout. My guy, my boy, my
The
homie. He would rehearse duo shoutcasting with me in front of a computer because he's just nice. He's just nice. And after one session, he basically told himself, "This is not for me, but this is for you." So he kind of urged me to do that.
Wait, so
Yeah,
hold on.
we
you telling me that this guy stuck around, did a dual cast with
Yeah.
you, and at a certain point he figured out he didn't like
Yeah.
this, but he just kept doing it?
Yeah, it's just nice.
Damn,
Yeah.
what a homie.
What a homie. Shout outs to you, Jethro. you're my homie. You're a realist.
Throw up his social so you can follow him.
He doesn't have. He's not like that. He doesn't have like social media anyways right now.
It'd
But
be
anyways,
so funny though.
fast forward.
Okay.
I know that you do this in your head, like you're shoutcasting in your head, and when the time comes, you know that you'll be prepared for it, right?
Yes.
So in 2016, fateful day of 2016, I think I've told this story many times. So I'm prepared for this. Mineski is it's not even a trial. It's like an actual broadcast. There's this guy solo casting 2 series, middle of the night, 12 midnight onwards. It's like solo casting and he's just doing his thing. I pass by my another homie says, "Hey, this guy wants to go for an audition," and the guy who's casting. This is live, by the way.
He's like,
was casting.
Waving
Wait, hey, come here and just do the thing with me, like live. So that's
What?
Denki. It's crazy. It's recorded. It's there.
yeah. What was the reason, Butters?
Can you
Wait,
can you point the mic towards him a little bit?
Wait.
I was supposed to be the partner of Denki, that caster, solo shoutcasting, but I got scolded by my parents.
Yeah, because we were
What the?
yeah, that's
Wait, it's all interconnected.
it is. They're one of the Butters. If you don't know, he's off cam right
He's
now.
off cam
Yeah.
on the side, but
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah. So that was one funny story. So anyways, I got in and they liked it. And yeah, the rest is history. Fortunately, so do I have to thank your mom now?
Yeah,
Shout outs to Butters' mom. Thank you.
Dude, that's so crazy. I didn't realize that this was gonna get. I was wondering why he was laughing all of a sudden. And I was like, "How are you part of this story?"
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, because we were all like, Nick, quote unquote, like esports is your passion kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
You know, where
it's frowned upon.
Yeah,
Most
it's frowned
people think
upon.
that you're fucking like stupid. Like
Yeah.
being a pro gamer at the time, people be like, "Haha,
Yeah.
get ready to be woke."
But especially shoutcasters, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
it actually took me about, I don't know, maybe 3. All right, it took my parents 3 years perhaps to fully accept it. I'm sure, like, for the first year, they're like, yeah, continue your studies, like, finish the university whatsoever, and get a job afterwards. Fine, you're gonna. We can't stop you from doing that, but make sure that you still do your thing, right?
Yeah, you're a
But-
grown ass man.
Yeah, I think it's very funny because I think that the first time that they accepted that I'll be a shoutcaster was when I appeared on TV, which is like a very big thing in the Philippines. If you
Oh yeah. If you're on TV,
if you're
I
on TV,
get you.
if you're on TV, national TV to be exact, because like cable TV is like paid. They're not
Yeah.
like famous, but if you're national TV,
Right?
yeah, that's how
That's how you know.
That's
You're
how you know.
government approved property now.
Yeah. So that's how our both of our shoutcasting careers happened. I wonder when. What game did you start with?
So I was inspired by StarCraft, and then from then on, I was very into esports at that point in
Okay.
time, right? So when I heard you got the beta key just now for Dota 2, I was playing a lot of Dota 1 at the time.
Okay, yeah.
And to play Dota, for those of you who are either too young to know this or the real OGs, Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne,
Exactly.
baby. It was a mini. It started from a mini game,
that's
right?
right.
It started from a mini game that got really, really popular. and
Custom map,
everybody-
as they call it.
Yeah, custom map. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. You know, while everybody else around the world was like getting into Call of Duty, when they were getting into like Halo custom maps and stuff like that, us in Southeast Asia, we fucking love Dota, right? And we had to use this shit ass program to play the game called, depending on where you're from, Garena or G Arena.
Yeah.
Both are, again, if you call it G Arena, I know where you're from. I probably know where you live, okay? But Garena at the time was by far the only way to
Yes.
really like
That's right.
connect people
That's
together,
right.
right? For the younger generation, it's like Hamachi for Minecraft, right? It's a peer-to-peer connection service.
Yeah.
So you would get into a server with like 100 people,
That's right.
And then you would open up the game, and then people would just create the custom map game that people can join,
Yeah.
and then it's just like you just play the
Yeah.
game, right? That's how you would do it. And then there are rank servers as well. I never got into that.
Yeah. I never got into that too.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing. It was also, I was a bit of a pussy as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't that great at the game. But from Dota 1, and then I heard about Dota 2 coming out, right? But during that time, MOBAs were such a big craze.
Yeah.
You know all the games that started to come out with that, right?
League of Legends.
League of Legends, Heroes
New
of New
Earth, that's right.
Earth. Those were like two big titles.
That's
Heroes
right.
of New Earth in particular, because that was like the graphically impressive one. And then League of
Yeah.
Legends, because it was from one of the creators of Dota that hopped
That's
on
right,
over.
that's right.
So
That's
I
right.
eventually went down the path of League of Legends.
Yeah, because you kind of have to choose back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This was my subclass.
Yeah,
this is my you know, for those of you who play RPGs,
Yeah.
this is my like, you know, promotion
Yeah.
class,
And
right?
yeah, to give you to give you my part of the story is that when during that transition, I didn't join it because I didn't have the piece, my own PC. I didn't have my own computer back then, so I had to just give it up. Okay, it's like my Dota days are over. Focus on studies now.
Yeah, no, I kind of did the same thing
Yeah.
to be fair, right?
Yeah.
Because you have like one family computer.
Yeah.
And the family computer was basically where you would play all the games, so on and
Right.
so forth. And I think I was bouncing around a lot of the games, but like for some reason, MOBA, something about MOBAs kind of drew me.
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
Right? I don't know what's about it. It's like an RTS, but you only have to focus kind of on yourself, and you have
Yeah,
like
that's right.
4 other teammates, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot less like because StarCraft is very demanding.
that's right.
You have to have an APM of like 240 or something to be competitive, or even like remotely competitive. And I was like, I don't have the brain power for that. I don't have the mechanical prowess to kind of like be a professional player in that sense. So when I got into MOBAs, it's like, okay, I just have to focus on this one thing, and it's not that big of a deal. So I go into League of Legends, right? And the problem with League of Legends is that it comes out in NA. So there's technically no real
right.
way to play it.
Right.
And when somehow I got into the server, right? My ping was through the
Yeah,
roof.
exactly.
But for some reason, I had a lot of fun playing it. You know,
And that's
even
how we are before.
exactly 200 ping. Fuck it, I'll
Yeah,
play it. You know,
exactly.
it's laggy, but it's like cool and stuff. And then eventually, it opens out in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And guess who? One of the publishers for the game happened to be Arena.
Your favorite, my favorite.
company. I have a lot of feelings towards Garena, but I'm gonna explain to you guys why this is a very pivotal company. Like this, as much as I didn't like the way they kind of handled League of Legends and stuff like that, they did kickstart my career, right?
For sure.
And so I get into League of Legends, and I really get into League of
Yeah.
Legends, like an obsessive amount, right?
Yeah.
And this, unlike my dear friend Wolf here, I wasn't very studious. I was not that kind of person, right? I would very much do anything else but study, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't that much of a nerd, but I was
Okay.
very obsessive of things, right? I'd be
Yeah,
very
I see,
critical
I
of
see.
I'd be critical of builds and things like that. I would go into it and like start comparing the numbers to
Got
see
it.
what I can really max out and optimize in the game. And then it came to the mechanical aspect, which I know is a lot of repetitions more than it is about the actual numbers. So that's
Right.
why the color aspect actually started to kick in
Okay.
because of how obsessive I was over the game. And then I realized that it was esports for it. I was
Yep.
like, wait, what? Esports? Kickstart WCG.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring
Right.
up all the nostalgia names here.
Okay.
WCG comes out, and
Cyber
I'm watching
games.
it. Yeah, the World Cyber Games. And that's where I'm watching like Dota, for an example.
Yeah.
And I think this is what really kickstarted me into like getting really motivated for esports, because that's in WCG is where Malaysia got 4th place in Dota 1, Orange Esports.
Oh, yeah, this was with KYXY, Ohio. Was Mushi there? Mushi was
Mushi
there.
was
yeah, for
there.
sure.
And these guys, these Malaysians, inspired me to like, if they can do it, why can't
Yeah.
I? You know? And that's when I'm like, okay, maybe I can be a competitive player. And obviously, as the years go by, my parents weren't very happy about me like playing video games at all. Like they were very strict. Like,
Yeah.
you only have an hour to play video games, and that's like
Yeah.
one game and like barely starting the next
Yeah,
one sometimes,
exactly.
and it was painful. I lost a lot of time because of that, right? So that's
Right.
where my dream of being a professional player actually dropped off entirely,
Yeah.
because there was just no way for me to commit that much
Right,
time to
right.
it to get that good. So then, if I'm not going to be a professional player, and I still want to be part of the scene, I want to at least be able to tell their story.
Great. Okay.
Cut to Garena times. This is where I see Worlds for the first time. I see my favorite players, Bjergsen, go up. He goes over. Yeah.
What was I don't know if what's Reckless then?
It was Reckless as well as Bjergsen. They all came up at about the same time.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing all these old professional players. I'm seeing like the CLGs, the TSMs, the all of them. They're like rising. And these stories were like rising to the top because it's not like now where people have a lot of money and organizations want to pay for players, right? These are regular ass dudes playing competitive games, and they would go around the country just playing competitions to keep themselves afloat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what was really inspiring because they would do everything. This is pure passion and nothing more than the love of the game. And that, like, to me, this is like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. Cut to Garena times. Then, this is where it gets interesting, right? Because I've mentioned before, I came from Bangladesh. A lot of my frugal traits from my overall family. It's not like we're really well off or anything. We're good. We're like a middle class family that's able to sustain. But like, it's not like we're going out to eat McDonald's every single day. Like McDonald's is a privilege.
Yeah.
You know, eating fast food is a privilege. If there's food at home, you eat it at home. And you need to finish it, no matter the cost. Yeah. You hate it, shove it down your throat. Yeah. You throw it up later, pick up your throw up, scoop it back into your mouth. You know, you little bitch. You can't be a little pussy ass bitch in my house. Yeah, because again, it's a house full of boys, and you have to be, to a certain degree, you have to be kind of strict about certain things, right? Sure. And that's where my dad comes in. My mom is the softer side, but we'll get into that a little bit later, right? Garena times. This happened. When did this happen? I had just. Oh yeah. This comes back to the other part of the timeline. So, primary school finished. I was UPSR was finished, major exam. That 2 years, I was in a private school because I needed the extra help for my BM, my Bahasa Melayu, to learn the language. Yeah. Then I went to public school for another 2 years, right? Okay. Guess what the government does? The government decides to change all public schools to be focused on Bahasa Melayu. All language would be in Bahasa Melayu. My dad was like, what the fuck? They just changed it. They changed a couple of subjects to English. And my mom's like, oh my God, there's no way my son's going to survive. They pull me out. Okay. They pull me out of public school and they put me in this weird thing called a homeschooling center. It's where you get a bunch of it's ironic because you get a bunch of homeschoolers and you put them into a center to do homeschooling. In your little cubicle.
It's just a school.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It was stupid. Again, I don't know why.
Do you have like cabins or
you have cubicles?
Cubicles? You do have what?
Yeah. Imagine, you know, in office spaces like a telecommunication office spaces. Imagine that, except instead of telephones and cubicles, it's just cubicles and then homeschooling kids doing like books.
That is so dystopian.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's fucking stupid, and I think it's gay as shit. Nothing to do with homosexuality or like throwing shade at them, but this was so dumb. Yeah. It was such a dumb idea. So I get put in that, right, for a year, and I'm supposed to start. And
so stupid.
Yeah. I switched. Okay, so I switched my curriculum. Instead of doing the regular government provided one, I was now doing O levels. Yeah. So this is where I get 1 year of my life back. Okay. So I got pulled a year back, right, for the public school, for the public education, and now I get pushed back to my original year.
That's okay. That must feel good,
dude. It's so weird because I was pulled back a year in public school, I'm clearly 1 year older than everybody else around me. I am still the bigger kid. Nobody wants to fuck with me because I'm the white-speaking big kid who beat your ass if you try to mess with me because I'm a foot taller than you.
You're actually really tall. Actually.
Yeah, and because of my genes, I am naturally tall, right? But I never really wanted to get in fight because you have that mentality that, like, you know, the bigger dog mentality where it's like you're bigger, so therefore you don't want to hurt the smaller people. And that's the mentality that I went into it with, right? So every single time like an altercation is about to happen, I'm like, this better not happen. And people will be like, yo, you better calm down. And I'll be like,
what did they call you? Huh? What did they call you?
Most people didn't know me. They would say my name, but like really shittily. They're like, Gideon.
Yeah. Did they have like the Baba Yaga? Is here?
No. I didn't have like a moniker. People would fuck with me a lot, but like never to the point where they would want to get into an altercation. Because if they ever got it, they would look at me one time and be like, "Oh shit, this dude is gonna get involved, and I don't want to be part of that." Right? And there are obviously kids who are bigger than me, and they are the ones who are willing to throw down. But it's just like the thing is, I'm not a person who wants to throw down with you unless I have to. But nobody wants to get pushed to that point, right? So I lose a year of year of my life, I get a year back of my life. So now when I'm in that homeschooling center, I am with people who are the same age as me, which is kind of weird because now I don't have that advantage over them, right? So socially, I'm like a little awkward here. I'm still a bit of a social butterfly. I make friends. I see some of my old friends there, so happen to be from government school there, and we get along. That year of my life, completely down the drain. You know why? Because I didn't study for shit. I would go to these classes. I gave up on AdMats because it's a hard subject. It's a really, really difficult subject. I gave up on accounting, and then I was doing every other extracurricular activity that you could possibly do just to bail out of classes. That was my whole idea. That was my whole identity. I made friends there, and eventually my dad was like, "This is not cool. You have your O levels are coming up. I'm pulling you out of the homeschooling center to do just homeschooling." So it's my dad, me, you, one room, a bunch of textbooks, and a lot of tuition.
Yeah. Oh, wait. So was your dad a teacher?
My dad was funny enough, my dad was actually a computer scientist, a very real computer scientist. He used to work for IBM.
Whoa.
And he gave up that entire life. He built enough finances to get, he built the finances, and you can tell in the olden times how your finances are doing based on where you live.
Yeah.
So you live in a smaller house, and then you flip that house, make a profit, go for a bigger house, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat until you get until he got a bungalow of his own, which was like the most awesome house in the world. He sold that. We're going to Bangladesh when I'm born. I'm like, what the fuck? It's messed up. It's messed up. I didn't get to enjoy it. I don't have any memories.
My brother's got at least 5 years of it. I don't get any.
I was so mad. I was so mad, and they're showing me pictures. I don't remember shit. What do you want from me?
That was brutal.
Yeah, I was so, dude. I mean, the past is the past, and I can't really change that. But, I had a very fruitful childhood in that up till that point, until I learned about all that.
Yeah, of course.
And then I go, time skip real quick. I think it was like the most depressing part of my life when I was in the homeschooling, after the homeschooling center.
Was it considered college, though?
This is not considered college.
Okay.
This is technically like just before diploma.
Huh.
Yeah.
A high school diploma.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. This is technically for equivalency, it is a high school diploma, right?
Okay.
O levels is a high school diploma. A levels is basically almost like it's not really a degree per se, but like closer to the next level.
Oh, so it's pre-degree. Let's just put it
pre-degree.
All right.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Right.
I got it. Okay.
So I go through that most depressing year of my life. Me, my dad, a bunch of tuition. I'm isolated from all the friends that I made over the past how many years of my life. No contact whatsoever. We're so frugal. We don't have phones, so I'm not capable of texting people. I don't have money. Even if I did have a phone to text people in contact with my parents mainly, the money needed to top up my phone, I would have none of that.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's not like the thing back then was like you don't have internet. All right. I mean, you do have internet.
You do have internet, but I have so limited time to use it on a family computer.
That's right.
Laptops are not exactly the greatest at that point of time, but also they cost money to get a decent one.
Yes.
So things change, right?
And it's not like right now, everybody will get load credits for data. We don't do that. Back then,
people have smartphones that basically work as honestly, smartphones these days better than computers previously.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
That's how you know that times have really changed.
That's right.
And
man, that was depressing. Did you even at least have a console back then?
Oh, yes, I did have a console thanks to my elder brother.
Oh, it's a hand-me-down.
It's not really hand-me-down. We pooled money together.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Right.
So my very first console was given by my uncle, a PS1. Oh, played the shit out of that thing.
For sure.
Every single game. Even some of the games don't come in English. So you're kind of fiddling around until you get it.
Honestly, I have a Game Boy Classic, and back then, the big one, the big
bricks
one.
Yeah, that needs AA batteries.
And usually the Japanese games are cheaper, way cheaper. It's even dirt cheap, almost free. It's almost free.
Yeah.
So you get them, you just figured out things and
Exactly. You're playing the original Legend of Zelda and things like that.
I think I finished I think Ghost Fighter and then also Pokemon. The thing is I played the original Pokemon and I was crazy about it, the blue version, and then I kind of memorized it in a way that I still enjoy the Japanese version. Yeah. But anyways, going back.
Yeah, so I had a console. We got a PS1, we got a PS2, and then eventually it came to a point where my brother was, because we migrated back to Malaysia, right? So we had a PS2. That was the console at the time, and then eventually my brother on his own, because he was doing university, and then he was done with university. He was working, but still staying with us. He got a PS3, so on and so forth, right? During this period of my life, right after I had just completed my O levels, I was kind of like figuring out what I wanted to do, and this comes down to the story that I tell everybody: the 2 degrees that I convincingly failed. Yeah. This is not something that I recommend for anybody out there. This is
disclaimer: don't try this at home.
Legitimate disclaimer. Like, if you want your parents to still love you at the end of this, I swear to God, do not drop out of 2 degrees. It is a lot of money. It's a fuck ton of money that I just flushed down the toilet, and that sucked. And it's still like, to this day, it still haunts me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm making enough for myself now that I'm like, I feel less bad about it, but it's something that I'm eventually going to be giving back at the end of the day, right? Because, oh man.
Yeah.
So here's how esports ruined my life. That's the title right there. So I started my first degree.
That is part of the hook at the start of the podcast.
Oh, this is how people are going to get that.
Yeah.
Clips, baby.
Clickbait. Okay,
Yep.
anyways.
So what happened was I went into my first degree, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to my first degree. It's a computer science degree, right? Wait. Sorry. Prior to the degrees, you had to do a foundation, right? A foundation.
I don't know about this.
Okay, so diplomas take 2 years, right?
Not in the Philippines, but yeah, I do understand.
Yeah, so it's you do a diploma. Most people do a diploma 2 years, and then after that they go into a degree, which takes about like 2.5 years, sometimes 3, depending on what course you take. Right? For me, I wanted to go for the express version. So the express version is a foundation, and a foundation allows you to go into a degree, and that would only take you 3 years. Still,
Got
the
it.
total would round up to about 4 years in total
Okay.
of tertiary education. I go through the foundation, the first foundation, no problems whatsoever. You know, I may have failed like one subject that I had to retake later, but it didn't matter because I could always start my degree.
Manageable.
Yeah, it was manageable. It was super manageable. In that time, I started to get into esports, like legitimately, like my feet on the ground esports, with, as we mentioned before, callback, Garena.
All right.
They had this program, right? They called it a talent search initially. They were looking for a host. I didn't know the difference. I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought this was like, maybe this is the shoutcasting thing, right?
Yeah.
No, it's actually
Can you remember
being
what
the host.
year this is?
Oh shit! What year was it? So long ago that I don't even remember. Okay, wait. Let me just do the math real quick. I'm 27 years old right now, right? And I finished O levels at the ripe age of like 17, going into 18. I did 1 year of foundation,
this.
which makes it
Actually doing the math.
yeah, which makes it I was around 18 years old, which means that since I'm 27 now, that is 9 years difference. So minus 23 is going to be 2014.
Wow. I'm like your dad forcing you to do math.
Yeah. Oh.
If Gideon is 27 years old now, X is the number of his career. Okay.
How
anyway.
fast were you running at that age if you're going at 5 miles an hour? No, 5 km because we don't use miles. But yeah, so 2014. Okay, I got to keep up with the timeline here. 2014 is when
Garena.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't 2014. Was it 2014? Did the math check out? 2023, and then you -9.
Butters, what year was the
2014.
talent development program of Garena as well? Because they have it in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, they were doing it all over the world.
15, 14. All right.
Okay, checks
out. All right. Yeah.
You're my dad. He's my dad.
I think, did you apply for that? No. All right. Only Manji. I think only Shingbu and Manji. Right?
Yes, I remember this. I know. Yeah.
Riku and
Riku,
all right,
yes,
right.
all of
the
them, all of
OGs,
them.
Asarai, of course, yeah.
Yes, all the OGs.
Okay, anyways, yeah,
All the
2014.
OGs. 2014. I go into it and they're like, "We're looking for a host. We're looking for people with charisma." And I'm like, "Okay, this is kind of not what I signed up for, but I'll do it anyway, you know, just to get my foot in through the door." So I go to the Garena office and I'm just like, "Holy fuck, this is the Garena office.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is where all the League of Legends stuff happens. This is where all the reports go to and nobody answers. This is great." Go there. Just absolutely nail it. Just
English, because it's
crushed it.
English.
Yeah, because it's in English.
Wait.
right?
Let me delve in a bit, because you mentioned that you're homeschooled. You're kind of alone. Basically, you don't. How did you practice your speaking skills?
I mean, practice because my parents also speak English, And like they're the only people that I'm talking to at that point in time.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how.
Well, no, I mean like speaking in English is different from actually casting.
Oh, from actually casting?
Yeah, like,
okay, yeah. I'm building up to that actually.
Okay.
I'm building up to that. So the talent search happens, right? And I'm doing the hosting thing, and then I host for a small event in Sunway University, which has happened the place where I actually was going to, yeah, right? And then I actually meet some real ass casters, right?
Okay.
People who have been doing this a little earlier than me. This is like the OGs in Malaysia. Like I'm talking about Ikuto, I'm talking about like the Hound. These are names that, you know, most people might not know in the international scene, but locally these are our OGs.
Yeah.
So I meet them and I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. I talk to the Greener people, and the Greener people, super nice. Awesome team at Greener Malaysia, right? Some of them that I still keep in contact till now because they're so cool. They tell me that the shoutcasting program happens after the writing program. So they had three programs, right? They had three specific programs. One for hosting, one for writing, and then another one for shoutcasting. And the one that I gave a shit about was the shoutcasting one. But it's not like I can expedite it or anything, right?
Okay.
So I sit through all three of these. I sit through 2 courses, and I even go for the writing one just to get my foot in through the door. I do that for a little while, and then eventually I got to the shoutcasting part.
I see.
This is where shit hits the fan. I have my boys, right? The boys that I, initially grew my esports career with. Contra, Husky, and one more guy, Mr. Sajid Hussein, Mr. Frostfire. He doesn't do esports anymore, unfortunately, but, you know, Husky and Contra still do, and they can attest to our story. We would go, I was doing university at the time, right? This was taking a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that I'm at the...
I like the fact that you're saying that university is taking a lot of my time. I have to focus on shoutcasting.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, let's do shoutcasting on the weekends. And this is on top of the fact that I was actually holding part-time jobs. Because because again, it's not like money comes out of the air and I need to survive somehow. So I was doing part-time jobs, right? So on the weekends, what would happen is at night, the shoutcasting course would actually happen. I would go to their studio, which is like in KL, and I would have to take public transport to get there. So it was actually pretty important that I keep my part-time job so that I can pay to go there, right? That's taken up all my funds.
Right.
Everything that I have, I put into that, right? So I would go through university, my foundation, through weekdays through the day, and then sometimes if I have free time, I would teach swimming to kids. Yeah.
Okay.
I would teach kids.
That's
swimming.
your part-time.
That's my part-time.
Okay. Wow.
And it so happens
Gideon
that
the swimmer.
that's why I got the swimmer bod, as some may call it, right? And then on the weekends, in the mornings, I would have to teach swimming, and as soon as I'm done, I have to run on over to public transport to get to the shoutcasting course.
Yeah.
Now, the shoutcasting course was 7 weeks long, right? Week 3. I go in, I'm having a good time. I'm like, I'm gonna learn about shoutcasting, right? They had a minimum requirement that you had to be plat and above rank-wise to be part of the course. I was gold 1, which is very close. I was like very close to plat, and I'm like, I just haven't put enough time in it. I'll eventually hit it, no problem.
Yeah, because you're doing part-time jobs, doing university.
Yeah. I'm doing university, and at night I finally have a laptop of my own, and that's where I was playing League of Legends, right? Cut to, I hit plat. I'm like part of this program, yada yada yada. Week 3 comes by, and I'm like, I'm having the time of my life. I'm like recently hitting plat. I'm feeling myself up. I'm like, I'm feeling good. Like I'm shitting on these noobs. I'm a big shot. My dick is like 8 inches long. I feel it it's up to my knees now. I can't wear shorts because my fat cock. I get in there, and guess what happens? So they were trying to show us what a production looks like. They have the back end, they have the front end. The front end is where the casters are supposed to be. They're showing us this is one of our veteran casters. We're talking to them, and there was like the BM ones, and then there was the English ones.
All right.
So we're talking with the English guys, and then guess what happens? We get a call. Apparently, some of the production members get a call from the higher ups, and they're like, "Throw these new, fresh talents on air, because the local professional league." Had just started, and they didn't have enough casters.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah. And we were all dumbfounded. We were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
We're like, what the fuck?
Did they have English broadcast at least?
They had an English broadcast. And that day it happened to be our mock cast day. We were supposed to start mock casting from week 2 onwards and just practice and get into the motion of things. Week 1 we kind of learn about whatever is going on, but week 3 we get thrown into the deep end.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, we get thrown into the deep end. Like nobody is prepared for this. Nobody, not a single one of us.
Were you even at least dressed for the part?
I mean, we were dressed obviously because it's a mock cast, but like not that well.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and it's like crinkle dash shirt, one black blazer that I have kept for the longest time. Like to me, it is deeply ingrained. That is a memento. I'm never gonna throw that because it is a memento of how far I have come from that point. I was shaking. I couldn't get words out properly. I was dog shit. I was so. I sometimes, if some people can find that clip, it's on Facebook somewhere.
No, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where exactly it is, and I'm not going to give you a link. So if you find it, good luck.
This is the link. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Just in case. But I was dog shit.
Yeah.
I was so bad. Really, really bad. And I came out of that not feeling that great. Everybody goes through it. Some people, like Husky, for an example, we learned that he was a play-by-play caster. And I knew for a fact that I could not keep up with the play-by-play.
Yeah.
So therefore, I was going to be a color. And I was like obsessive about the game in that way.
It's natural.
So it came very naturally to me to talk about the optimizations and micros in the game. And then as soon as we were done, we were all feeling shit about ourselves. And then the person who was teaching us shoutcasting, right? His name was Crow. This guy is a godfather figure. He, I don't know if he's still...
figure.
Here's why. Because he was coaching a professional team before this, right? And he was outside of esports. He was finishing his own degree, and he was like, 26 at the time? And he was paying everything. He was an independent man. Like, truly independent upon independent, right?
All right.
And then eventually, what his career ended up looking like is actually getting picked up by another team across the world in South America to start coaching a League of Legends team there, which eventually one of those teams went to Worlds. They didn't win, of course, but the fact that they went to Worlds and got like 7th to 8th, that was pretty impressive. They got out of their own groups. So again,
exactly.
Shout outs to Crow. If you're out there listening to that, you will always be a top G to me. So he was like, you guys did okay. Like, not really, but he tried to make us feel better about the situation.
Yeah.
But then from that point onwards, this was supposed to be a 7-week course, right? They threw us in week 3. At that point, we would go in every single week to mock cast, but actually go on live broadcast for the local professional league and cast over that. And eventually, through the reps, we got better as we kind of pulled back from it, kind of talked about it, and continued to improve time and time again. That's when we really started to fall in love with the art of shoutcasting, right? When you're that close together with the production and they're giving you feedback as much as you are giving them feedback, and it's the back and forth constantly amongst your co-casters of like what could have been done better. Well, this, and everybody in that room. I remember that production room was a literal like a little tiny terrace house. It was a tiny ass terrace house that they remodeled, that they redid for the rooms to be a production house.
Yeah.
And everybody in that room fucking loved League of Legends.
That's right.
And the professional players, they would come into that studio to play.
Yeah,
because they were having it literally above us in the upstairs rooms.
Wow, that's almost similar with the first setup of MPL the Philippines with some of the games.
Like it's really ghetto. Like it's super ghetto.
Yeah.
But like that's
super ghetto. But there's a audio technical headset somewhere out there.
So true. Oh my god, that's why Audio Technica has always stuck with me, just because of that. But that's how I got my career started with Arena at that point of time, and then eventually League of Legends started to die in Malaysia. And here's why. Now this is where I get mad at the Filipinos, right? I get mad at the Filipinos.
Okay,
here's why. You know your OGs, Mr. Asurai, Mr. Rika, the Rikus of the world. You know.
Okay.
I hold grudges against them, as well as the Singaporeans as well.
Okay.
Because every time we would there's this thing called the GPL, which is like, okay, so you play in your local league,
all right.
and then you go to the next level for League of Legends, right? Those English broadcasts would always be handed off to the Singaporeans and Filipinos.
Right.
Every single time. And us in Malaysia, we never get that love. Mainly because we were dog shit at casting, but like, the fact that we weren't even offered the opportunity was kind of a slap in the face.
Yeah, I kind of get. It's mainly because of the fact that will be cheaper to just do it in one broadcast than the other, right? Or something like that.
Well, it's hard to say because number one, Singapore, They're never going to be
You're
cheap.
right.
So Filipinos were going to be cheap. See, that's the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So here's why. Singaporean, because the Riot office was eventually going to be in Singapore.
Oh,
so there was
okay.
very close connection.
Okay.
And the people who worked for Riot also were based in
Singapore.
Singapore. So that's why the
Okay.
connections were so easy to get. Filipinos, because they're naturally cheaper, but they
Yeah.
also spoke really decent English as
Compared
well,
to
right?
other, yes.
Yeah, and Malaysia was smack in the middle. So there's no business-wise, there's no real reason to
Right.
pick us up. And on top of the fact
Right.
that some of and most of the time we were pretty dog shit, then we would
You
never
mean
get
the
this
teams?
opportunity. With teams as well as us as shoutcasters at that time. Because again, we're young, we're fresh,
Yeah.
we're not exactly the best in the world. I didn't just come out of the gate and the best shoutcaster in the world.
Yes.
This took a lot of time to actually perfect.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's why I have a little bit of a grudge. But other than that, it's a fun little grudge to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
now after like 9 years.
I'm sure you saw them in MSC. Did you get a chance to kind of reconnect with, or was it a different? Because I remember you told me that there was eventually a day where you met Asarai and Riku.
Yes, but that was after League of Legends.
That was wow. That's fun.
yeah,
That's hilarious.
because League of Legends was dying in
Okay.
Southeast Asia. Everybody just got shit on by the better teams.
That's right.
So Vietnam got first. It started with Taiwan. Taiwan broke off from us, right? And
Yeah.
then Vietnam broke off from us because
Yeah.
they were just too strong. They
Yeah.
were too good at the
broke
game.
off meaning they had their own server.
Yeah,
Alright.
they had their own league, their own
server,
server,
alright.
because they were just too good.
Yep.
And it's like there's nothing we could do about it. But what was really happening was the fact that Garena was losing out in terms of like having to dedicate servers to them.
Yes.
Eventually came to a point where this is unsustainable.
Yeah.
In terms of like business wise, right?
Yeah.
So it came to a point where League of Legends was dying and we had to shift out. You know, I still wanted a shoutcast. I really wanted a shout. Like for the longest time, I love League of Legends to bits.
Yeah.
And it's sad that it died, but at the same time, it kind of pushed me to go to other places. So
Yeah.
Garena had another, happened to be mobile game. Wangzi was actually, Wangzi was very popular in China.
Okay.
A mobile game that got picked up by Garena and turned into AOV.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry to everyone who's just they're very they're shocked. Just to let you know, guys, we're in the tag holding area, and there are people who are actually
Yeah.
doing.
Who are actually doing legitimate work
Yeah.
while we're fucking around.
Yeah, that's right.
We are just in the background, you know, getting a
Yeah.
couple of laughs every once in a while, which is my goal.
yeah.
Wah! But yeah, so AOV was the first mobile game
Mm-hmm.
that we started shoutcasting, right? And then from AOV, you start looking for other opportunities out there in the world.
Yeah.
During that entire period of transitioning to AOV, I had dropped computer science. I was 2 years into it, right?
Yeah.
I'd liked computer science because of the coding, but it came to a point where it became too difficult, mathematic wise.
Yeah.
They expected you to know calculus. I'm like, when the fuck am I ever going to use calculus in my code? Never. Never. It just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They're like, we'll teach you about databases with Java code. And I'm like, I don't give a shit
Yeah.
about things like that. I want to just do code,
Yeah.
make video games, feel good about myself.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do. So I eventually dropped the course. And in that time when I was in foundation in arts, I had gotten associated with a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend at the time, right? So on top of everything that I was doing, I was in a relationship, I was doing education, I was doing this on the side, I had a part-time job, and it all came crashing down in my. It all came crashing down when I was halfway through my second degree,
Yeah.
which is communications, a bachelor's in mass communications with a major in advertising.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
all like doing Photoshop.
Yeah.
It's like learning how to do Photoshop, learning how to talk to clients, so on and so forth, right? A lot. I'm telling you, a lot of things happened to get to where I am.
Yeah.
Am I proud of some of it? No, but I had passive fun. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
You know the
Passive
idea.
fun,
Yeah,
alright.
yeah. It's the best way I can put it. It's
Yeah.
like when you're experiencing it, it's fucking dog
Yeah.
shit. But then when you think back on it, it's like, oh yeah, maybe that was kind of
that's
fun.
right.
You know, that's why I call it passive
Yeah.
fun.
Well, I love it. I'll take that term. I'll steal
Yeah.
it away from you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Take it anytime, right? So during my second degree, I was going through it, and eventually I had decided, because I finally got associated with Mobile Legends, right? From AOV, I eventually went to Mobile Legends. I was brought in from another League of Legends caster, my second G, Matthew Chan,
Oh.
Mr. Kamo himself.
Right. Stuff of legends, that guy.
The stuff of Legends. And this was happening towards 2017. Like, I heard about it at the end of 2017.
Okay.
coming into 2018, right? I was like, nah, I don't want to do Mobile Legends. I
Yeah.
don't want to do Mobile Legends. I want to do League of Legends. I want to go to Worlds. I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And eventually came to the point where it was unattainable.
Yeah.
Like you had to tell yourself that this is a dream that you might achieve some other time
Yeah.
in your life, but you got to give it up now for the sake of your career.
That's right. And were you also thinking like, man, I was born in a
Shit country.
Yeah.
Yes.
basically.
I really did. No, I genuinely hated Malaysia
Yeah.
because of it. Because we're always in the middle, but never the best
Right.
at best at things, right? Which is kind of reflective of how we are in the Mobile Legends scene now. But it might change. I don't know. Times are
Yeah.
changing quickly, right? So in that time, Matthew brought me over, and I started doing Mobile Legends, and I was still doing my degree at that time, and I did season 2. Like I came in halfway through season 2, and I had to start learning. And Matthew was kind enough because he was a fully fledged adult at that point. And I was still technically a kid. We would drive out to Starbucks, and we would sit down at Starbucks, right? And Matthew had this thing. It's like, oh, that barista is so cute. And I'm like, ah ha ha, small things on the side.
Yeah.
But what we would do is open up the game and start memorizing everything about it.
Oh, mobile. Well, yeah. Okay.
Everything. And this is like, we were harsh on each other. We would be running simulations of drafts. We would be memorizing hero names, skill names, passive abilities. We wanted to be better than everybody else, and that was the goal. And we knew that this was very achievable because initially I met Matthew through League of Legends, right? We casted together, and he liked the way that I cast, and we got close that way.
Yeah.
And once we were in Mobile Legends, and we started getting gig upon gig upon gig upon gig. That's when it really started to snowball out of control.
Yeah.
Season 2, it has MPL MY, season 2. I got in halfway. And then I was hearing about the talks because he went for MSC 2018.
Yeah.
Which was in Indonesia at the time. This is the Arrow Wolf, Saiyan time.
IDNS.
IDNS, the good old days. And then finally, coming up to MSC 2019, Matthew was like, I want you to be part of this. Like,
Yeah.
I really, I don't want anybody else but you to be my partner. Because at this point, we've flown out to Singapore on weekends while I was doing my degree.
Okay.
So I had to make some sacrifices in my life. Number one, swimming had to stop because I was making money from shoutcasting. Finally, there was this thing called the Straits Championship. So we would fly out to Singapore to the to the RSG production house at that time, and we would do a cast. Right, we would do a cast, and once that's over on Sunday, we would fly back to Malaysia, go back home, and then instantly the next day I would go to university.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Right? And it came to a
Crazy.
point where this needed to build to something, and that was MSC 2019.
Right.
And that was one of the bigger payouts of my entire career, right? When there will always be a time in your career where you get like such an absurd amount of money for the days that you work that you're like, whoa, this is, and when I'm talking about absurd amount of money, keep in mind that I was very frugal. So 1,000 ringgit to me is like a whopping amount, right? Nowadays it's like, oh, I'm realizing that inflation is coming in, but like 1,000 ringgit isn't as much as it used to be, right? So we go to MSC 2019, right? At this point, I was like, this is the moment. This is the moment where it all kind of clicked for me. Where it's like, okay, I'm doing Mobile Legends in a foreign country, and that's where I meet everybody.
Yeah.
I literally meet everybody, right?
Yeah.
I meet Butters, I met
Manjin,
Rockhard, I met
Rockhard,
Manjin, I met every personality
Was
that you
Kid.
see. Yeah, Kid.
Yeah,
Kid was
Kid.
still around there, you
Yeah.
know? I met his friends, Raf as well.
Yeah.
Good time. I had a really good
Yeah.
time in 2019, right? I come back from that, and I'm like, I finally have somewhat of a direction in my life, for the very first time. And it's strange because as we came to a point where we start hearing rumors of the world tournament, the World Championship
In Malaysia.
in Malaysia, the M1
Yeah.
World Championship. And Matthew is a very good PR guy, and he hears it from some of the executives from Munton, right?
And he's also part of Evo's, right?
He at MSC but he eventually switched over to he eventually stopped shoutcasting and went into management and stuff like that.
Can I just say though, this is a funny story because you probably don't know about this, but MSC was like it left a bitter taste. MSC 2019 as a shoutcaster from the Philippines, especially because it's being hosted in the Philippines. It was very surprising for us MPL PH casters because for some reason, because the organizer was a different organizer. They didn't get majority of the MPL Philippines casters. I would understand the English. I understand why the English broadcast is like that, but the Tagalog broadcast didn't include us, the old timers. I wasn't there, right?
I remember that. I remember this very, very vividly,
Yeah.
right? Because again, I don't know much. And during the time, it's like I don't know much about the scene.
Yeah.
So then, where it's like it's funny because the way that the layout was like we would be in a little corner on the
Yeah.
side for the English broadcast, and then the Tagalog broadcast is literally like honestly 12 feet down, and they would be on the side doing their broadcast, and they're on the PA system and they're fucking loud, and we have to be like, nothing's happening. This is totally fine.
Yeah, it's weird, but it was a big wake up call. I remember being petty at the same time very poor back then.
Oh, yeah.
That I did not watch it because I thought. No, I didn't go there because actually it costs some money to get in there. And it's a different organizer. I cannot ask for tickets,
Of
right?
course.
And they will cost me again. It's like the better option for me back then was to look for work. So, but that's what I did. Like while MC is happening, I looked for work because again, it's not practical to do that. But at the same time, there's a big part of me where, man, when the next time this happens, I gotta make sure I'll be part of it. I wanna, because I worked really hard until season 3, because MPL season 1 I was in English.
Yep.
I kind of forced myself into becoming the panel host for the Tagalog broadcast in season 2, establish it there, and then season 3 worked really hard for that panel hosting, and then this happens, and a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
I made sure. I told myself, okay, next time I'm gonna make sure that happens. Now, this is a good segue though, because now you're getting to M1, right?
Yeah,
so I
this
want
is-
you to continue your story on
Yes,
M1.
yes. Actually, funny enough, this is you guys weren't part of MSC. Was it because of the EO talent agency wars that were happening in the Philippines?
I think so.
Yeah, I remember this very
is,
well
it
because
is.
you guys were all flexing your. Okay, for those who don't know, in the Philippines, you guys have these cards, right? You have to be government approved esports licensed shoutcasters.
That's right.
What the fuck is that garbage? We
Yeah.
don't have none of that in Malaysia, right?
Hey! We get discounts now because of
Now
it.
you get
Alright.
discounts. This is a recent thing. This
Alright.
is also a recent thing. But yeah, I thought that was like a cool thing because it felt like
Yeah.
you guys were recognized. And then I started hearing about what the scene was like. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this side is going to be this guy. This
Yeah.
side is supposed to be this talent agency.
right.
And then these guys were this talent agency. And the
Right.
after parties were all based on which talency you were a part of. It's like, are you
Yeah.
this part of the talent agency or this
Yeah.
part? Or like people who don't associate with either but are a part of either
Yeah.
or and in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So I got to see every part of that day. So that's interesting. But now we go into M1 territory.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting because we hear about Matthew hears about it first and he tells me, he's
Yeah.
like, hey, dude, as much as I want to cast M1, I've already done MSC, which is technically the biggest tournament
Yeah.
out there prior to M1. But if you're gonna keep doing this, get M1,
Yeah.
no matter what. And I'm like, I kept it close to my heart. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's the goal. So I go through another shitty series of MPL MY, getting paid dirt.
Yeah.
At the time, like dirt cheap. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And also, I had broken up with my girlfriend at the time because it was just too much.
Yeah.
I was. I'm not gonna be one to say that I was the best person in the world,
Yeah.
of course. And my girlfriend is back. And my girlfriend is back there, But this particular ex, this is like my very first long-term relationship,
Yeah.
right? This is 4 years of my life. She's been through 2 degrees,
Which is a big thing.
which is a big thing. Yeah, and I was making no money,
Yeah,
dirt poor.
yeah.
She's driving around. I don't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
I am just somebody who's looking to find my passion and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And like, it eventually it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's just how relationships are going to go. And you grow as a person. It was a very devastating part of my life. I was down 2 degrees. Like imagine you want to have something to go off of your life, and the most that you have is MSC, right?
Yeah.
You missed out an opportunity to cast the biggest tournaments in the world, like Worlds for League of Legends, and
Yeah.
maybe get a degree. Nope, didn't get the first degree. Let's go to the second
Oh,
one.
that
Didn't
one,
get the
yeah.
second degree. Got to give up on that one. Then go into AOV. The opportunities there, given away to everybody else. And then we get
Yeah.
into Mobile Legends. We finally get the first dub, which is
Yeah.
MSC 2019.
That's right.
So then M1 comes around, right? And I'm mentally, I am not in a good place. But
Okay.
I know, but more than anything else, that I wanted to cast.
Yeah, you want to be part of it.
I wanted to be part of it, right? And at that moment, there is a moment in a shoutcaster's life. I think every shoutcaster can attest and relate to this, that you will find yourself questioning, is this something that I really want to do, right? Because it's hard. It's not something that you're going to be good at sometimes. Sometimes you are talented, but eventually you have to ask yourself, age is going to catch up and this isn't forever. We all know, all shoutcasters know that this is something that you're not going to do for the rest of your life. You're only going to cast as long as your voice allows you to, right? If somebody I tell this to all new recruits, if somebody comes by and slashes my throat, that's the end of my career right there.
And, and to think that we're also dependent on whether or not the game is going to survive, you know?
That too. Yeah. But like that's where you have to fall in love with the art of casting more than just the game itself. You have to disassociate.
Cheers to that. If we have a cheers to that. Yeah.
All right. Kids don't drink. But it came to me where I started to live the philosophy that I've told myself for a long time. But like it's hard to line up with the philosophy, like truly be so deep in the sauce that this is everything, right? And it came to a point where it wasn't going well in my life, and then the savior comes, M1 comes about, and I'm like, this is something that I want to do. Yeah. This is something that I can achieve. It is attainable. I just have to put in the hard work to get to that point. So I work. M1 comes around and I meet Wolf for the first time with Manjin.
That's right.
I mean, I knew Manjin for sure because he was fucking with me during MSC. This
as a
bitch,
true Filipino would.
As a true Filipino would, was teaching me everything. Gago, tangina, you know, the usual stuff, the good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff.
And then I meet Wolf, you know? I meet Wolf and Manjin, and I hear about their story that these guys... Have you told the story on the podcast before?
No, I think this might be the first time that I actively will talk about this. It's great because it's perfect.
This is the connection point.
Connection
this is where
point
our lives intertwine.
Yeah, it's our our event horizon.
Our event horizon.
Our isekai. Anyway, what happened was M1 was happening, and then apparently the organizer of M1 was related to the org that I was in, which was Mineski. Am I right? Was it Mineski?
Yes, it was Mineski, now known as
IO. Yeah, exactly.
IO esports.
So, different story overall.
Yeah.
Basically, my mentor, Nate Frost, and together with Zen, I asked me and Manjin were very close with these, and we owe our careers to these guys essentially.
To production, yes.
Yep. So they mentioned like, hey, organizers from the Philippines, and I think that there was a little bit of an issue because I think that M1 was sponsored by YouTube back then, YouTube Gaming. So they basically didn't have enough casters because
for context, there was a live streaming rights war.
Amongst
talents, right?
Exactly.
So you were either in party A, which was Facebook who was
Gaming.
trying to fight for the live streaming rights for it.
Yep.
And in Southeast Asia, Facebook was a very big
That's
is a very big
That's
thing,
right.
right? The older generation still uses it now, and you must be laughing about it because you're younger. But during that time, that's all we had. Instagram was barely a thing.
Yeah,
right?
Instagram with videos was barely a thing. It's almost like always like pictures.
Exactly. So there was this kerfuffle with it where the rights were given. It was like promoted as part of Facebook, partially Facebook Gaming. But then something happened. I can't remember what exactly it was.
Yeah, but
and then YouTube was given the rights
specifically for M1 only. By the way, which is weird because for the longest time it's always been Facebook.
Exactly.
Then,
every MPL region as well. Facebook.
For 4 seasons, right? And then M1 comes in. It's YouTube. So apparently, like the organizers cannot get Facebook streamers or Facebook partners. Facebook partners. Anybody associated who was getting paid by Facebook to stream, essentially. Yeah, they can't. And most of the talents, also in Tagalog and BM, were Facebook partners too, right? And this guy is Lafel.
Lafel is also technically he was supposed to be part of it, but like Facebook said nah.
Yeah. Sorry, you don't get to be with us. We're like the OGs, we're old timer. Kidding aside. So the thing is, so there is some quote unquote lack of talents back then, or at least scarcity. That's a proper term. And I think that you don't have enough English casters because English casters in Malaysia were also very scarce scarce back then.
Scarce, yeah.
Back then, so there was this wild idea from our mentors that, hey, what if are you interested in casting in English for M1? So that's the end of the sentence, and then
Yeah.
I said already like, okay, yeah, sure, I want to.
Yes.
Eh, but you have to act as if you're a Malaysian in a way that you fly. The organizer will not pay for your flight. The organizer will not pay for accommodation because they're just gonna get any other Malaysian anyways. Why would they fly someone out? It makes sense though for the event organizer's perspective because why should they fly for it? And M1 is a very
Exactly.
experimental thing where it's like the
This was
first
the first
one.
time,
So it's we don't have enough budget for it. So that's very much understandable. And then so basically like okay, go fly to Malaysia on your own. Thank you.
You sacrifice.
So yeah. So what happened was during that time you only have forecasters in
Yes.
English.
In English.
So they
In
need
English.
they basically need more, right? So the idea was we paid for our plane tickets. We paid for our accommodation and our food while we're not on broadcast.
Yep.
For a guy like me back in 2019, we're so broke. That was a gamble. And the funny thing is, I only found out about Airbnb that time. Like, it's like a month ago. I found Airbnb is a thing where
This is a real thing.
It's a real thing. So I learned about that coincidentally. So we booked an Airbnb. We booked the plane tickets. Plane tickets back then costs about I think the total was 19,000 PHP 2 years back and forth because it's so $350 now.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right.
For a caster, that's too much.
That's way too much. And keep in mind that our caster rates at that point of time isn't what it is like
it's
now,
not there.
right? We were getting paid like what? Less than it was like almost 25 USD a day,
exactly,
like around there.
I remember back in 2018 or 2019, early 2019, when I first got a $350 paycheck for one day. I was
Yeah.
like, man,
my God.
I can do this.
This is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, everybody has
Yeah.
that moment when it comes down and you're just like, oh my God.
But then that happens only like very rarely, maybe once a
very
month.
rarely. Yeah. But it does make you the dopamine you get from it.
Yeah, you get the high from it. Yeah. Anyways, fast forward. Yeah, we did pay for our own flights. We did pay for our own accommodation. We looked for the cheapest like accommodation nearby, and we flew out there. So basically, we asked for like the rates, and I gotta be honest. Like if you're local back then, the rates were pretty good, right? If you live there.
The rates were definitely higher than they usually were. It was
Yeah.
almost like double the time. But then again, it's like we were getting paid like less than 25 USD at that point in
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So getting something close to almost
50 USD.
50 to maybe even 100
Yeah.
USD, depending on like how many, how long,
Yeah.
because
How many
you have to do
shifts?
how many shifts you have
Yeah.
to do. Yes.
Yeah,
So it was getting into that
Getting to it.
territory.
So if you are there as a local, if you don't have to spend on your accommodation of on your flight, then it's a fair deal.
You guys like just barely broke even
Well,
that time round.
I remember like my net was we netted
You netted like what?
3,000 pesos.
Okay, 3,000 pesos.
That's net from the talent fee minus the flight and the accommodation.
accommodation,
So 54
yeah.
US dollars. That's a net. Yeah. And the thing is, it's not even like technically net, because we have to wait for it. Because you have to wait a month.
You have to wait a month so that it goes through
goes
all
back.
the red tape,
Yeah.
all through corporate
Yeah.
to get to you.
Which
So
I'm ever so thankful about the Malaysian organizers back then, because they paid on time, which is
yes.
my God, I'm legit crying because that rarely happens back in 2019. Anyways, so we another funny story. We booked an Airbnb, right? And I saw this like, wow, this is a 4-bedroom condo unit. There are 4 beds and it's like very cheap. Obviously, I'll get it. right? And then when we get there, it was very funny because it's a very posh community. You know, it's a very nice condominium. We get there, the guard tells us, "Hey, Airbnb is not allowed in here." Airbnb is not allowed in here. It was a massive back and forth because his English wasn't that good. So basically, he's telling me Airbnb is not allowed here.
Yeah.
I was talking to our host back then for Airbnb.
And for context, there's a lot of properties that you're not supposed to do Airbnbs with, and you just, if you're a local, you just know and you don't say shit. You just walk in.
So now the host comes in, doesn't speak English. She's Chinese, right? So she speaks Chinese. I'm pretty sure about that because you can hear it. And my God, they just like, come here, come here. It's like, it's very underground, basically. And I think that the guard was kind enough because we were kind of begging because we're very tired. We have our luggages. We were speaking for 30 minutes now and we looked very poor. They just like allowed us to go there, right? So we get there.
Disheveled, scrawny kids.
It's very underground. And thank you to that security guard for letting us in. But what we basically did was quote unquote illegal. We get there, we unpack our stuff. It was nice because it was a big condo, right? And each of us, hey, okay, you get a room, I get a room, right? And then so we did that. Then the following day we get to cast. The host chats me. It was, you know, that it's a Google translated English, and he tells us like basically, hey, your roommate is gonna be coming over. Be sure to be there to welcome in. So we're basically we were asked to welcome this guy. Another Chinese guy comes in. We don't understand what's going on. And apparently, we only get one of the rooms. One of the 4 or 5 rooms there for the price. That's why it was...
It was dirt cheap because it technically was supposed to be a dormitory, essentially. So what they got was one of those rooms with 2 beds, and that's it. Nothing else.
No water. I mean, no free drinking water whatsoever. No sheets, whatever. Just it was very funny. But then again, you know, the Chinese guy also, I think that he understood that because they speak the same language, but we didn't. So we had to like get back our stuff, position ourselves in this room whatsoever, deal with it, and just, you know, I was legit scared because what if like the Malaysian government just they're onto us and they get in and they just kick us out. And I don't have extra money anymore. Yeah. That's crazy. And by the way, big shout outs to Contra and Husky. They brought us to this bakute place, which kind of made everything make sense in the end. Like
it was worth it.
It was worth it. We were very tired. We were very poor. They bring us to this bakute place, and now you say, okay, all right, I'm living the life. Shout out to Bakute.
Exactly.
So that's the story of M1. We kind of brute forced, me and Manjin brute forced our way into that. It was a very fun experience. And I get to see like how crazy the Malaysians are when it comes to it. Was a crazy event. Even when the Malaysians didn't, I think you got 3rd place?
We got 4th.
4th. It was a very fun 3rd. Top 3 region.
Top 3 region.
It was very fun, and I had a lot of fun, and I think I learned so much about that. Menjin also learned a lot during when that happened.
Oh yeah.
And when I got home, I told myself I'm gonna be back in Malaysia. I want to be back in Malaysia and just do the thing over again.
Look, the magic of bakute. What can I say?
Yeah.
I think
the Malaysian bakute, just to be clear.
The right one. None of that pepper bullshit that people feed off of just because it's in a posh country. Such dog water.
I remember like there was I don't know about this, but there's like a big rivalry between NYSG, right? And even
especially we hate each other,
especially with the food. They're like neighbors that kind of hate each other so much, especially with the food. I remember this trash talk like so Contra and Husky told us, you know what? The best food in Singapore is takeout food from Malaysia.
Yes. my boys. This is why they're my boys.
Yeah.
But dude, this is what like I heard that I was seeing this. I was living with the guy. I was living this, and more importantly, I was hearing the story live. Live. It's in Wolf and Majin's experiences. It's a legendary story
it was
because
crazy.
it's just like. Because it's so out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Especially from a local POV. This is like that's a fucking crazy
Yeah.
move because you guys are like about the same age as us at the point
Yep.
at that point of time. You know, we're all kind of doing all the same things at the same time, and we were just like. We were just as poor. Everybody was dirt broke.
Yep.
Not all of us had like adult lives going for
That's
us.
right.
Maybe the closest would be Contra at that point of time.
That's right, yeah.
Me and Husky were still in college. Still in college and like getting out of college at that point in time. So so it was a pretty crazy story to hear from you guys when you were at the event. And personally, for me, I'm always like M1 is always gonna have a special place in my heart because I think like it was one of the most grandiose. Like in terms of like
for
in terms of, like,
MLBB, right?
Yeah, for MLBB in terms of the venue, the stage, it felt very like when you imagine an esports event and it's grand, that stage was as grand as you can get. Where it was like almost like a TI. You're in your own little boxes in the middle of a 360 stage, and then you're watching the games, and everybody around you in a 360 area. It's not just from one POV anymore. It's every single angle, every single LED, even the floors with the hosts and everything. The fire. It was incredible.
It was incredible.
It was an incredible
like,
event.
We have it's a very how do I say this? It's like it's very premier to me.
It feels premier.
Because we have you know that feeling when you're in the stadium, you have to walk a very long hall.
Yeah.
With wires down there, with the lights, with the air this part is heavily air conditioned, this part is not. You hear the muffled sounds of the stadium. It's great.
And then there's like this VIP areas as well that nobody gave a shit about and hopped over anyway.
And my man, we had makeup. It was like, whoa, wait, you guys have makeup? And it's like,
makeup artists.
Yeah, man, what was that? That was the
life. That was the ultimate M series experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And then life kicked off for the both of us. Kicked off from there. From M1, we started doing every single M series event from then on, and then we became staples of the M series just because we stuck around.
Yeah,
honestly. We stuck around. Honestly, wait, there was one. There was one M series that I wanted to talk to you about, like
probably M2.
Even Was it M2? There was a chance that you weren't part of it. Which one? No. I can't remember exactly which one it was. M2 was me, Contra,
Butters.
Leo, Butters, and you.
That's right, the six of us. Yeah.
Yeah, the six of us during that time, and that was rough. That was COVID time.
Yeah, that was very
COVID
difficult.
time. That was a very difficult time. That was a bit of an awkward moment until we come to M3.
Yeah.
That was an even more awkward one because I think that's when they really reeled back on the budget, I suppose.
Compared to M2,
Yeah, compared to M2. Mainly because COVID's still happening during this point of time. COVID is still happening, and all of the casts were handled by 4 people. Me, Wolf, Mirko, who just got introduced to the World Series, and Leo.
Yeah.
So it's only the 4 of us. And LaFell was already there at that point. Yeah. So the 5 of us were taking care of every single one of the games.
Yeah, there was.
Dude.
Yeah, Mirko was only the new kid, and we're like.
Yeah, the rest of us were technically like veterans at this point. Yeah,
man,
it was.
This was M3 was crazy, guys. Because I mean,
it was.
I think the budget was. The budget was even more difficult because of the quarantine, right? So they have to kind of compensate for hotels for everyone, like entirely. So it's like. I do understand why there were only 6 of us. 6? Did I count it correctly? And then there was Joachim and Mara. So that's like 6 casters. No,
right.
5 casters.
In total, it was me, LaFell, you, Leo, Mirko. 5 casters. Yeah.
You know, guys, this is crazy because only having 5 casters means that you're activated for essentially everything. Literally everything.
The rotation is us. You have 3 casters on the desk every single time, and then you have 2 analysts.
That's right. Which, yeah.
Dude, the more that I think about it, like
Yeah.
every single time I bring up M3 to like anybody, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
Mirko, whether it's Leo, it's always like it was a blur.
Yeah, it
it's
was a
hard
blur.
to remember stuff because we were so exhausted
Yeah.
all the goddamn time.
I always tell it like I always say like I can't even remember how we survived that. It's just like that. Like whenever I think about M3, it's almost impossible that we did that. And by the way, I was doing the other stuff. I was
Oh, you were doing the stuff with one esports
One
at the
esports,
time?
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Was doing with one esports. I'm with a team back then. It's crazy, but I always say this. Like I guess it's mainly because of who you are with. People in M series like M3, you guys, my co-casters, were just in the zone. The energy, the adrenaline is contagious.
It is.
It is like.
It's infectious.
It's infectious, right?
Yeah.
I remember though there were times where we were sleeping on the floor, because we just had to.
Yeah. Because it's like there is no time for you to go back to your hotel, knock out, get back up, get ready, and go back
and
out.
Every single minute that you're sleeping, even if it's just a shut eye, is important. It helps you, right? So every chance, every minute of sleep, we value that. And the thing is, even when you're snoring already at the side, people will not make fun of you. Well, they kind of did, but but the thing is, like everybody was just understanding to each other. Like this guy looks tired. Okay, I have to go the extra mile and feel the 100%. Oh, it's my time now. Then somebody else will do it. It's a very collaborative effort, and it's great.
Yeah.
And even thinking about it now, it's just making me shake. It's or the goosebumps.
That's definitely one of those passive fun moments
Yeah,
for
passive
sure.
moments.
Do you want to do it again? Absolutely not. Was it fun going through it? I
Yeah.
guess now that I think about it, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like I'm happy that I'm happy that I mean if I will not do it again now, but I would not do it differently back then. Something
Of
like
course.
that.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything
Yeah.
about it. It was a necessary. Well, I wouldn't even say it's a necessary, but it's one of those experiences that you're not going to forget for sure,
Yep.
even if it's just very, very hazy.
Yeah.
and that's where we discover the M3 special.
Yeah.
the one little joy that
You
got
still have
us
that?
through.
Oh, you still have it?
Yeah, it's still here. This shit.
Okay.
Okay. For context, there was a lovely talent runner who was kind enough to get us Starbucks.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we didn't ask for much, right? We were like, you know what? Get us whatever you feel like, because again, it's Singaporean dollars.
Something is
Singaporean-
by the way, something very important is happening, I think. Is it the game over?
Is the game?
Not yet. All right. So something very important is happening in the M5 right now. Oh, it's over. Geek Fam. Yeah, Geek Fam won.
won?
All right.
2-1 or 2-0?
2-1. And a very intense match. We have to review it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely gonna have to review it. I gotta
There's
do a daily recap as
okay,
well.
okay, wait. You see this? You have to see this. The taunts. Man, I'm sorry I stole you from this moment.
Damn.
Because-
Don't worry, I'll probably watch it later on.
because
anyways.
game 2 when Daewoo won, they were like they're looking at me. This is our vibe.
Southeast Asia always
right.
gonna dominate.
Oh, but it is what it is. Anyway, going back. Do you know that we're talking for 2 hours now?
Oh, we happened?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, dude. I don't know. I feel so bad for your editor who's gonna have to go through 2 hours.
Nah.
Worth of, what's the average time of your podcast? It's been like an hour 40 hours.
An hour now. I think that there were lots of Nomad. You probably do you know Nomad?
Nomad?
No. I interviewed this guy. Lasted for 2 hours. I had Rada for 2 hours 20. And don't worry, Coach Panda, we spoke of 3 hours and 30.
Oh,
So-
as long as I am not the longest one, I don't mind. I
Hey.
don't honestly, because honestly, between the two of us, we could talk literally for hours about everything about shoutcasting.
That's right. Honestly, you know what? What I'm gonna do?
Split this into 2.
Can we do it for a second? Because I think that M3 was a good ending already of our journey
Of
this
our journey?
of part 1 of episode 1.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? I'll take it. I'll
All
take
right.
it. Because I think, there's going to be, again, I'm pretty sure that if you do a podcast with anybody who is part of
Yeah.
M3, they'll tell you the exact same thing.
Yeah. Honestly, I wanted, and watch out for this. I'm gonna be getting the boys.
You're going to get the boys?
Yep, the 4 of us. That's gonna get Lafel and Lafel and Leo. If Butters is going, if Butters happens to be there for the? Are you willing to do it? Just some
Are we gonna do a M2 reunion?
M2 reunion. All right, yeah.
M2 reunion. Oh,
Yeah.
but then Contra isn't here, unfortunately.
Yeah,
that's the only unfortunate part.
Yeah, we'll call him or whatever.
We'll just have his like image photoshopped in and just make him like map like a muppet.
So that's crazy. And M3 was a great ending because I think that through all of the hardships that we did with M3, we pulled through. There were so many improvements that we did among us. What I'm very proud of is that we established our own system. Like when it comes to casting, it was the first TriCast. The duo analyst was great. I remember
I love dual analyst.
man, I mean, one of the craziest things that happened in M3 was you guys, both of you, decided to give the cast to us Filipinos.
Yes.
And which is for me, I mean, knowing a lot of casters, I've been casting for quite a long time before that M3 happened, and I was thinking like, usually people would love to cast the grand finals. It's just natural, right?
Of course.
And I was already assigned as the analyst, and I know that I'm fine with that. But the same day, like you guys decided like, hey, what if we give it to the Filipinos?
Okay. Let me give you some context about what exactly happened here,
Yeah.
right? This will be the final story, right?
Yeah.
From our long-windedness. Now, M2. This goes all the way back to M2 because this was the time where, I mean, editor, add the famous clip where I was doing Eyes of Butters. That will always be one of my favorite moments. That's so funny. I was fucking with him on desk, and he's just looking back. He's just looking back at me, and he's just like, "Did anybody else see that?"
What was it? Leo was like, "Wait, I remember
and then
now."
Leo was like, he was looking at me with eyes, and Leo was like, "With meaning." Such a good moment.
Yeah,
that was a special moment between me and Butters there when I was fucking with him. But that was the time, right? That was the time where, if I remember correctly, it was building up, and technically I was the senior. Me and you were the senior, but you were doing analyst,
That's right.
And I was on the desk,
Yeah.
and we were doing the crazy fucking 4-man decks there with Leo, me, Leo, Butters, me.
Contra, that's four-man.
And Contra. Yeah, 4-man desk, right? And we were all it was weird because it was COVID time, so we had like we had the little barriers to block in between us, right?
Yeah, the shields, so they call.
Yeah, and this was a grandiose moment. We were still we were kind of doing like hybrid cast to a certain degree, right? The back and forth. And then this was Leo's very first time on the M series,
That's right.
right? And it was coming up to that grandiose moment.
Yeah.
You're seeing that Carl TZ, the GOAT, is coming in big time.
Yeah.
Big dick energy. Great game sense. He's like phantom executioning into bushes, and people are like, is he map hacking or is it just genius? And we were like, we already predetermined that it was a process of elimination where you get other people to check other bushes, and then you can kind of guess that they're kind of there, right?
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, phantom execution was 15 seconds, if not at that time was basically 8 seconds because of how much CDR. Yeah, because you could stack up so much CDR.
Wow, it's great that you remember it.
Yeah, because they didn't have a CDR cap at that point of time.
That's
so
right,
you could stack up your CDR to pretty high and get some ridiculous like shit going, especially level 15. Nowadays, it's like, what, 15 seconds is going to be as good as you get, if not 12, depending on like what patch you're playing on. Regardless, in that moment where it was coming up to that final moment, it was building up. It was building up. And then I could see like at the corner of my eye that we knew this was going to be the final moment. This is when it all happens. And I was doing play for a little bit. I was like, bah, 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 bah. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, this is a Filipino moment. And then I looked over, and I could see that the Filipinos needed to say something, because this is their moment to reach like glory. Because M1 was Indonesia. Now it's going to be like, this is the brand. This is them. They were going to grab it. And I don't know, some part of me understood that, like, did I really need to take that final moment? Like, every part of me as a shoutcaster wanted to take that moment, of course. But I decided, you know what? And I think me and Leo, like, inadvertently, you know what? It's hard to explain. It's non-verbal communication. You kind of look at that person and you know that he wants it. And he's just like, you're kind of having this conversation while everything is going on. And I'm like,
wow, that's beautiful.
And he takes it and he absolutely nails it. He nails the ending as
Yeah.
the crystal breaks and everybody's getting their final words in. Leo has already said his thing. Butters comes
Yeah.
in. Contra gets in. I'm closing it in. And it was like, it was a great moment. And that was the end
Yeah.
of M2.
Beautiful.
Cut to M3.
You had a whiplash moment with between. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. You can go near. You can go near behind him. You go behind me.
Actually, ayan.
Go behind me. Go behind him. Show yourself in the camera, you beautiful lad.
That's your
I
camera.
actually remember. Oh, shit.
Oh, the beautiful stuff, the good stuff.
No! Not
Okay.
the M3 special.
The M3 special.
Okay, so I actually remember Gideon, Contra, and the others talking to us about the final call
Yeah.
for the grand finals. Like we were talking about it, and Gideon and the others, Gideon and Contra told us that if Philippines win,
Yeah.
you get the final call.
All right.
And me and Leo talked about it, and we were like, okay, let me come in.
All right.
Janitorial services. But yeah, we were talking about it, and we were like, okay, if Philippines win, Leo gets to call it. If the Burmese goals win,
Yeah.
they call it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Understandably.
I think in M3 when they were talking about, you were talking about like
Sacrifice. You're letting
they,
go.
they gave it to the Filipinos, the
Yeah.
grand finals. I think it really just started with M2 World Championships.
Yeah.
With these guys being graceful enough to actually give us the final call.
Yeah. Shout out Contra and Gideon.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot we had a conversation about that. I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, but no, I
but-
mean, like, I'm pretty sure that you will forget about it, even like doing broadcasts, especially because you're
yeah.
anchoring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially with like how hyped the energy
Yeah,
was.
for sure.
And then cut to M3 where me and LaFell were there and we were discussing it. It's like, yeah, this is going to be a PH versus PH finals.
Yeah.
And on the schedule, so we have a talent schedule,
Yeah.
right? And the talent schedule tells us, hey, this person is going to cast this game, this person's doing this role, yada 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 yada. We told them, fuck you. This is a bit of a slap in the face of production, but it's not their fault, right? It's
Yeah.
we don't know what
Yeah,
the grand
obviously
finals
they-
was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they put you on analyst.
That's
They put you as well as
Leo, literally.
Leo as the
Analyst.
analyst. Yes.
Post
And they
game
put-
analyst.
Yeah, and they put Mirko, me, and as well as LaFell as the main table. So
Yeah.
me and LaFell, we came to a discussion. We came to a discussion, and we told production that, hey, I think that I think we discussed it with you guys
Yeah,
as
we
well.
did. Yeah,
that
eventually.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
That like at the very least, this is Mirko's very first time. There's no point for him to actually do analysis because
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is play-by-play. He is the play-by-play guy, right?
Yeah.
We saw that. We could clearly see that he is designed for this.
That's right.
Some people are just meant for certain roles, and his role was play-by-play.
Yep.
For us, we like both me and LaFell have different ways of casting. But the important thing is that we're both generally analysts and color casters, right? So we told you guys that, hey, I think, we had the discussion that you guys honestly should take the table.
Yeah.
I don't remember who started the conversation, but like essentially it boiled down to you guys need to take the table. We will take the analyst because again, there is no Malaysian teams. There's nobody else. And this is Filipino versus Filipino.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense to do so.
Yeah.
So that's when we had to tell production, fuck you, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, and they were pretty down with it. But anyways, yeah, that's why I'm very thankful about that because it was literally the first time somebody ever did that to me. Like,
Really?
to ever like give up a grand finals position.
Man, I gotta stop giving them grand finals positions.
And that's I mean, growing up, what the hell? But yeah, throughout my career, I've always like. Because like even before MPL started, I kind of accepted the fact that I'm not gonna be the grand finals guy because I was casting in Dota 2 under the Lon and Duno. If you're familiar with Lakad Matatag, normal the Lon and Duno partnership, and I will never be the grand finals caster, right? So I kind of accepted that fact, and then in the middle of my long career. Mobile Legends, somebody does it, and I'm like, wow, okay, I'll take it, and I gotta say, like, it was one of the more enjoyable ones because it was the start of the PH era, which is great. And thank you, LaFell, Makasi, Tari Makasi for that. You
We
existed.
gave up. Yeah, you existed, and we gave up the grand finals table,
M3.
M3. We both did analysis. It's not like we wanted it.
Well, thank you for that. So I guess
no worries, man.
let us end episode 1 of Wolf v Gideon with this wonderful. Because I only thought about this right now, by the way. So since Mirko back then in M3 was our like our kid, all of us, there were 4 of
He was
us,
so young.
and we're 5. It kind of feels like it's just perfect to kind of assign ourselves what the roles will be in game. And I think that Mirko is safely the jungler because it's like the young guy. Back then, this is M3. I think Mirko is the jungler of
Our
the
resident
5.
jungler.
All right. So who do you think where would you put others? Where would you put Lafel? What role? XP lane?
Oh yeah, that
Metaphorically speaking.
Metaphorically?
Yeah.
That's a bit.
Yeah.
I would say
I would put you in Rome, you know what? Because
you would put me in role?
You tank so much of the bad stuff like a boss,
What bad stuff did I tank?
I mean, like war. Everybody just accepted all of the tasks,
Oh.
And I think you dealt with it like a boss, so you kind of felt like you're a roamer to me, or maybe an XP lane.
Yeah. That's actually kind of true.
Yeah.
Now that the more that I think about it, it's kind of true.
I think you shifted desk roles a lot.
Yes, I
just to
shifted
give way.
desk. Yeah, I shifted desk roles a lot. I also took over. Some people's shifts because they weren't feeling well and things like that. Dude, this happens all the time, and it really pisses me off. But at the same time, it's like, what am I really gonna do about it, right? It happened like somebody would get sick, and then I would have to cover for them. And then it would, every time that happens, if I ever take over somebody's role for that time, it would be the longest. Like everything that could go wrong goes wrong.
I know.
Every tech pause.
Yeah.
Full best of 5s.
Yeah.
Full best of 7s. Oh my god.
So
the game crashes.
So
be the longest days.
Okay, so
Okay,
Mirko's our
if we're
jungler.
if we're talking about like metaphorically speaking, then yes, I would say that I would be the roamer in that particular situation. I think that Leo, let's see, where would Leo actually fit? Okay, wait, hold on. We're talking about the meta then, right?
Meta then, yeah.
The meta then,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so if it's the meta then I would say Leo is very much a mid laner. I would say that he's like philosophically as a mid laner, right? It was important that the mid laner kind of gives way, but also sets up and peels for the hyper carry at that point of time. Because he was one of the few who introduced what anchor actually was. Instead, to us as Malaysians, we only knew it as play-by-play, right? Play-by-play and color. These are two separate roles. That makes sense. But Leo comes from a background of a radio host, broadcast host, right? So he understands what a anchor is supposed to do, which was, there are growing pains, of course, during that time. But once you kind of got the hang of it, you kind of understand what his role is actually supposed to encumber. And it makes it such that I don't have to think about like dumb things like, oh, I need to know who's the sponsor of the day, or things like that. I mean, I mean, obviously there are certain things that have to be done in the show, but yeah, I think, Leo is definitely at that in M3 in the M3 meta, you would definitely be a mid laner at that point of time.
Does that put Lafel in the XP lane? You know the crazy XP lane choice like Grok with the flicker, the high and dry.
Yeah,
you get there.
And he would play. Yeah. I would say that he's totally in that role because this man is making plays on the fucking desk, bro.
Yes, sir.
What the fuck?
Yes, sir.
Like some of the things like you wouldn't have imagined. Like imagine like for me. When Lafel makes his way into the industry for the first time, this motherfucker wasn't as funny as he was now. He was playing it safe. This bitch was playing it safe, and I was telling him stop playing it safe. And then he takes off the hinges, and I'm like, God damn, this guy's funny.
Yeah.
And that's where you see these big crazy plays that you kind of have to like roll with the punches with to make these moments actually happen.
Exactly.
That's why I think he goes pretty well into the EXP lane.
He's meant to be challenged.
Miracle definitely was going to be in the
jungle role.
Going to be in the jungle role, right? He's young, he's fresh, he's mechanically gifted. In the way that he kind of holds himself, the charisma that he brought to the table was interesting. And once he really started to loosen up, and we kind of gave him the fundamentals. Like the first fundamental I remember telling him is, hey, just pace yourself.
Yeah.
Really pace yourself because this is going to be really devastating if you lose your voice so early on.
I remember you telling him that, and the same day, this guy lost his voice. That actually happened. This freaking guy. It's like you're telling your jungler, hey, don't be aggressive. Go for the invade. Okay, fine, you're gonna do it, but don't do it at this time.
Yeah.
And he's still gonna do it.
Don't invade. Don't invade. I don't have lane prio. He fucking does it one time, and then he's like, I learned my lesson. I am so sorry, father.
But fortunately for him is that he's still very young, so his voice recovery is much faster than most.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are the old boys. We're the
Yeah.
old boys here. And the thing
Yeah.
is that the thing is, I was thinking why I wanted why philosophically I'm in that roam position during the
Yeah.
M3 meta compared to like, because I felt that you would also be like doing a lot of the kind of paving the way.
Yeah. I think specifically on the analyst role, you guys allowed me to. I think, all right, so if I recall correctly, I didn't
Yeah.
do any anchoring back in M3, or if there was, it was very, very small.
Very minimal.
Very minimal. So I exclusively went analyst. That's why it's perfect that I'm in the golden because you just let me farm, essentially.
Yeah. We let you. We
Exactly.
honestly gave you. We didn't really give you feet, but
Yeah.
more so we kind of allowed. We've kind of set up these points
Yeah.
that are like, to us, a majority of the table already know what the
Yeah.
answer is, but you kind of have to like sell it. You got to play dumb. You
Yeah.
got to play a little dumb about it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, why did he go for this pick? And
Yeah.
then Wolf comes in, bam, 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 bam. He's got the full explanation. Previously, you used to be a lot more long-winded about
Yes.
like certain topics.
Yes.
So it was all about like that's
Yeah.
where it really helped having two analysts on the desk, because
Exactly.
you would have like a complex point, and me as a roamer, I would have to come in and be like, summarize,
Yeah.
whoop, make it into like bite size, dog treat, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
The
And then-
hand signals back then were just crazy because that was sometimes when you're analyst, when you're so deep into the game, that's what happens to me most of the time.
Yeah,
I
you
kinda
get
take
lost in the sauce.
I just have my own universe, and then Gideon will be like, and then, or something
yeah.
like, what was it? No, I think I forgot what your hand signals were.
Because we had pieces of paper,
Yeah.
and it would be like something along the lines of like, oh yeah, I would look at
Yeah.
because the camera. Imagine the camera is here, and I'm like looking at Wolf, who's
Yeah.
on like the opposite side. I'm like, uh-huh. Just
So-
like real quick.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then I would just help him I would basically help you summarize your points,
Exactly.
and then like kind of set you up for the big quality topics that you
Yeah.
wanted to talk for, right? Because I was basically in that sense kind of your not really your anchor, but kind of in that same
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
pretty
role
much.
to kind of like, I would point in a
Yeah.
direction, you kind of lead on with it, and as soon as you reach the end of it, you point in another direction, I would catch it
Yeah.
instantaneously, and then we kind of like make this entire analysis actually go down. So
Yep.
yeah, I think it was pretty interesting.
Well,
yeah.
that's what I love about the five of us, the boys,
The
of M3, because it was a super duper collaborative effort, and like I said, up until now, I don't know how we survived.
Core memory, man. A core memory that's just fuzzy.
That's fuzzy. I mean, like the core, the highs, the extreme parts, be it like extremely bad and extremely good, you will always like remember it. I remember walks to Shake Shack for some reason.
yeah, I remember all the good moments.
The coffee,
the M3 special.
M3 special.
M3 special.
and it's great. So we've been speaking for 2 hours and 20, and there's still a lot that we have to talk about. I
sure.
am still interested in some of the other shoutcasting principles that Gideon can share to us. But this episode is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and I think that the other
other
casters,
talents,
the other
yeah.
talents are starting to
They're gonna
come
need the
back.
space.
They need
They're
the
gonna need the
space.
space soon.
We need to close this one out, but
Yep.
this will not be the last, especially for M5. Watch out for amazing podcasts. That's it, Gideon. Thank you so much, brother. All right.
Hey,
Give it there.
honestly, thank you for having me. I've been wanting to be on this podcast for a while
Hey,
now. I saw him made a podcast. I'm like, God damn, I need some therapy.
That's it for the episode. See you again next time.